Smite.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Smite Update show. I am Titan Dandy, and I am super excited to be here to show you all of what you can expect in Update 11.6. That's right, it's mid-season.
I switched to the other side of your
Feels like
monitor.
just
How do you feel
yesterday
about
we were
that?
Kicking off,
How do you feel about that?
It's crazy that we're already at the 6th update of our year 11. But obviously, I couldn't do this alone. There's way more than I can comprehend in this brain. So I'm joined by some very talented people you may recognize. I have Ro and Lermy here, and J-Mac as well in the back driving for us.
What's up?
What's up? Y'all
I'm
excited?
so ready.
Yeah.
It's a long one today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know y'all been cooking, so I guess we won't waste any time. We'll dive right in. So we're gonna kick off the show looking at some fun new cosmetics you can look forward to. Some you may have seen previewed, whether on that weight screen we were just on, or maybe across Twitter a little bit more recently. So let's start with the Immortal Honor event. I'm gonna say it again for those of you who don't know. After 6 updates, Immortal Honor event. You're gonna get 2 skins every single update. We've been doing it.
Yeah, he's
We're
like,
on
I have said this
our,
6,000 times. I'm
That's
gonna
2
say it
times
again.
6. I can do
Corporate
math.
says, say it
so
again.
They're all cross-gen. They're all gonna be available in Smite 2 once these gods release in Smite 2 and are ready to play. So check out the event. Buy it individually. Buy it in chapters. Buy the whole thing all at once and just get all the skins throughout the entire year, every single update. Your choice. But let's look at what we have to offer in the mid-season update, starting with Lil Bites Sobek. Just a little guy.
I love this theme so much.
Right? It's
I
so
love him
good.
so much.
And look at him. He's just a little guy. Look at how happy he is.
Well, we got
Dude,
the
I have
Sobek
been,
prediction, right?
on a plushie purchasing spree, and let me tell you, I would buy that guy instantly if he existed as a plushie.
You would be part of the PPS. Got it. I'm loving. Is that Smite?
Like Jenga blocks? Yeah, I was just looking at that too. No,
That's
that's
so
really nice.
cute.
When am I
Another
getting
merch
my
idea.
Smite branded Jenga? Dude, I want that. Like I'll be the hit of all of the lawn parties. So a beautiful little Sobek.
Oh my goodness.
He's been better in game,
He's
actually.
adorable.
Yeah.
He looks
His
so much
little,
softer.
his little thing has googly eyes on his little weapon. Look at it. Oh my god, that's so silly.
It looks the way I feel, honestly. Here we go again.
He just like me for real, for real.
Oh, just me. God. All right. Well, he is adorable, soft, and cute. But let's see what he looks like in Smite 2. Oh, look at our soft little man. He looks so fluffy.
They really went in on the like kind of woven texture too. You can see all of the different like textiles that would go into making a plushie like this.
Yeah, and every
Yeah.
stitch as well across all the seams.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks kind of felt too. Like you can kind
It
of
is,
tell
yeah.
by looking how
Yeah.
he would feel. You know.
I'd say he's very contrasted compared to a lot of the other plushie skins, which has like more of that like knit style or crochet style.
If
of
we
look, where
had
this one just feels like he's
these
been
characters,
sewn together,
you
but I
know,
really
actually
like the
in
look
the
of it.
The
game,
so
details
happy.
are
we could
incredible.
actually see
He
the
looks a
skin
lot less
in game.
angry and wanting
Just
to
a
kill me
thought
than
to hire.
alligators.
But he still wants to flip
You
you.
could actually
So,
show off the
that's
skin
true.
in
He will
game,
still do that.
and you see a
So
real
that is
life
one of the
picture
2
of it.
skins. The next one, slightly less cute.
If that
depending
god
on what
was
kind of
already in the
person
game.
you are. We have Dread Stalker Kepri.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean? This is
Slightly
adorable.
less.
Yeah.
Have you never seen a brain that cute before? Look at all those wrinkles.
No, mine is much smoother than that. I'm very concerned.
That way all the
Aerodynamic,
thoughts can
yeah.
slide right off.
Oh yeah. Mine's like a chicken breast. It's just completely. Anyway, yeah. So this skin a lot less huggable and adorable. The eye kinda though. At least he's paying attention. Like you know when you have his full attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when he grabs you, you will know you've got his full attention.
That's how it be when I go to the fridge for like water at 2 a.m.
Oh my god, he's
Yeah.
so creepy.
Like when I see the
That
cheese in
is
the fridge as I'm reaching for a
horrifying.
water bottle, like
Yeah,
that's my
no,
eye
that's
every
terrifying.
you
time.
know,
That
I
in
saw the
Smite
corner, I
2
was
is
like,
gonna
oh,
be.
it's like, you know,
It's gonna be
just a
gross,
little
actually.
creepy.
It's gonna be
just-
nasty.
Yeah, it's a little bit more creepy.
If
than
that's
the
in Smite
eyeballs
2, maybe it's
freaking me
not.
out, dude.
But if it is,
Ever since they started adding
Charges at you.
moving eyeballs to Smite skins, like it's been peak horror, honestly.
I love it.
Every time there's an Eldritch abomination with one constantly moving eye,
is
I'm like,
spooky.
oh yeah, that's nightmare fuel.
I didn't think it could get creepier than Kepri as a gun, but this is creepier.
Maybe we
Every
could combine these skins.
All right, well, now that I'm vividly shook, how about we check it out in game? 'Cause why
Oh,
not?
yes, of course.
Yes, of course. So,
Just as creepy.
Oh,
look
look
at
at
that.
He's
him.
constantly moving around.
oh yeah, you got a lot to see. It's a whole new world out there for him.
Is it safe to have the brain exposed like that? I feel like it's,
No, I don't recommend
What about
having your
it?
brain exposed to natural lighting and atmosphere.
But he's just powerful enough where it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I
when
see,
you
I
let an
see.
intellectual
His thoughts can beat
devourer
any
grow
germs,
just a
honestly.
little too big,
Oh,
you know?
dude,
And
I
any
love the
Odin
little
fool.
tech effects as well.
True.
Little horror, little sci-fi. Oh, that's really cool.
Watching the brain wrigle is bothering me.
Kind of got a smaller body as well, so he's very nimble, this brain.
I've never seen a more nimble brain in my life.
Oh, it's
Oh.
brain on
Oh,
there
look
too.
at the two.
That's
different ones.
awesome.
Cerebral revive.
If you revive through that Khepri, do you like gain IQ points? Is that what happens?
No, he actually takes them away.
Oh.
5th or 6th time he revives you, like the price is too
Smarter
much.
every time.
Yeah, that's how the brain got that big.
I see.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this has been comfortable and fun. I've loved this. I don't feel unsettled at all. Welcome to Smite 11.6 update. So cool. Yeah, you can look forward to seeing this from the Immortal Honor event in this and in Smite 2, of which we have a render, which I am also afraid to see. So let's check
Yeah.
out that horrifying Smite. Okay,
Oh.
the brain's hidden a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, the eyeballs
Being
like
saved right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a word for it other than like glossy.
Eyeball's a little
Glossy.
wet though.
Yeah.
It's wet.
It looks like an eyeball.
It's a wet eyeball. It's
Yeah.
a wet
I wonder if it blinks in Smite 2.
No.
Oh, don't say that.
With
Don't give them
what
ideas.
eyelids?
That's true, actually.
Yeah, that's why it's so
Eyelids.
like
Moist.
bloodshot.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
good
can't
point.
Moist.
Maybe it just
nice
rolls
moist
around.
eye.
Oh,
like it
that
doesn't
might be worse.
Like a pen, maybe like a ballpoint pen. Yeah.
Oh God.
Again, I
Hey guys,
appreciate.
what about the like
Got some eye
mechanical
drops.
stuff, right? We can talk about the stuff other than the
I'm just gonna say I appreciate that it's being a little, being a little risque. It's like there is a big gross brain back here, but you'll have to see it later. Good for him.
Very modest.
Good for me. Thank you. Very modest. All right, I want to die. Let's look at the next thing. So this is a Mortal Honor event. You heard me talk about it already. You know what you're looking for. You want to run people down with that skin. That's all I'm gonna say. But just build full attack damage, full crit, Khepri, and run people down with that, and it'll be a good time.
That sounds fun.
All right. So next up, something completely different. We have the Demon High Chest, and we're coming in with Honor Roll Amaterasu.
I love this theme so much.
Agreed. Thinking of
So
my boy
cool.
AJ.
I just loved the like aesthetic as
was
well. I really think
AMA.
that Amaterasu is a really good pick for it as
was
well. She just kind of
AMA.
has this like
Doesn't she
leadership
already have
mentality, right?
a
Where she's this
skin
like super
like this? I
stoic
guess
character,
not.
but she gets to have
I
a little
guess-
bit of fun. You know, she's still in school.
guess
She's
I made
breaking
that
out of
up.
class to go kill some demons, and what a fun time it is.
I mean, yeah, you're on the honor roll. You're on the honor roll. Wow, that was kind of hard to say.
Yeah, that's
Val
impressive.
and
Thank
Malone-
you. It only took 2
Malone-
tries.
Oh, no,
Malona?
I'm not being on the honor
Malona.
roll.
I'm just
Malona
gonna take
and
it away. I
Malona.
think it's less awkward that way for me. But no, if you're on the honor roll, then like you got to put out for your class, you know. So like popping out to kill the demons, like look at them in the back. They're like, oh, that's our honor roll student. So, ooh, that is a good skin.
Yeah,
Cool.
dude, the shield as well.
Yeah.
Looking really, really neat with the slight like insignia and the gems. I love this style. So cool.
I agree, and you're right. Amaterasu
This
just
style does nothing for me.
physical, like the way that she holds herself does
Nothing
kind
for
of
me.
exert that like proud
Yeah,
honor
same with her
student
animations.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just the way that she carries herself definitely lends itself to the skin really well. So a very, very cool skin, one that I'm excited to see, and one that, like all the others, I am excited to see in Smite 2 as well, as this is a cross-gen skin.
Ooh, the metals and the like gems, like we were talking about before, they just look so much nicer. They got like a big upgrade going into Smite 2 here.
Yeah, and honestly, if for those of you who are able to play Smite 2 in this most recent alpha, like being able to see some of the skins that are in that game as well and how they handle the light with the effects and everything, like it's crazy how good it can look in a still and how good
The
it
crazy
looks, or how
thing
much
is if
better
you
it
turn on
looks
your
even when
lumen
you're
settings
actually
in Smite
moving
2,
and
you
using
can
it.
also see
Yeah, I
it
can't
as
wait
a
to see
still.
those effects
so,
as well. Those are gonna look awesome.
Oh yeah, that's
Glow of her
It's a neat
wand walking
feature.
through the jungle, her passive effect walking through the jungle.
Oh,
is really
dude.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
what's changing. What's happening in the Conquest game?
Yeah, so we've got a brand new upgrade to a fan favorite system from last year. And that system, my friends, is the spirit totems and the shaman camps.
Okay.
So what are we doing to them? Well, now, I guess let's talk about what they did before. So previously,
okay.
when you kill these back camp replacements, they would put different totems into your various camps. You could select the totems,
Yeah.
pick different enhancements for your buffs.
Correct.
Now, what you can do with them is, at a certain point, they would despawn. You'd finish going through your cycle and be done.
I literally don't
now,
remember
the
this at
cycle
all.
continues. It repeats, and they get stronger and stronger and stronger each time you kill them.
Yeah, up to 3 levels of these new
Guys,
totems.
how do I not
so
remember
you'll just
this?
be constantly having that shaman camp respawn instead of going that back camp changing back to back harpies. So you'll still have a back harpy camp at the start of the game, and then after that it'll be constant
Yeah.
shaman camp.
Is this
from
what turned
there,
into
where you
masks?
Just keep, every time you kill one, you upgrade your buffs.
Exactly.
Got it.
The
Incentivizing you
shaman now
continue to get on
continues
top
to
of that
cycle
camp
through-
every time that it is
Oh.
up, basically.
Oh,
that's really
I
cool.
thought this was something
So,
entirely. This is literally just
it
saying
seems
the
that there's
masks
also,
buffs
I guess
continue
you want
to
to get
get
into
stronger.
the change of the totem
that what they're
effects as
saying?
well.
Yeah. So let's talk about, before we even get into like the totems themselves, let's talk about a couple of fun little invade rules. So
Okay.
one of the biggest contention points,
Okay.
I guess, over this system in the past is that it's really fun to be
Spirit
able to pick your
totem.
buffs, but
Okay,
it's not
okay.
necessarily so intuitive when you invade somebody's camp.
They get theirs, yeah.
They still get like the reward from it. Essentially, you
Now
just
you
get the
can-
golden
oh,
experience.
you can invade and
of their
steal them
camp.
for
but
your
now
team
it works a little
now.
bit differently, where you can actually steal their totem now.
That's nice,
and
dear.
in that case, if you were to take one of their totems, they would technically miss that totem in the
So you
rotation,
can
and it would
steal
continue
the
onward.
enemy
Like, let's just
mask and
say
then get a
it
better
goes
buff for your
red,
team.
blue,
So
yellow.
if you have the
steal
better
their blue,
jungler,
it's
you can
gonna
snowball a
go
little
to
harder.
yellow
Hell
immediately,
yeah,
and then you need to
brother.
wait for the next red before it turns into blue again. So lots of different new tactics that you can do now that the invading is on the table for these camps. So
Right.
it's going to be really nice to be able to see a little bit more macro play. We're hoping to encourage people to really want to play around these guys and defend them on their own side and possibly invade them on the opponent's side.
Junglers especially, yeah, you'll be able to invade the enemy camps and just deny them from getting certain buffs. Like if they have some gods that are particularly good with the blue buff totem and they want the extra CDR, every time that's up, you can see it coming up on the map, you can go and invade that and you can contest it. As well on the receiving side, if you're getting invaded, you can tell your team to group up on this because we want this next camp. So it's another contention point on the map for people to fight over.
Exactly.
We just want to get people into the combat as much as possible and reward them from doing so.
Yeah, I like that too. Like you said, that was my first thought was, oh man, like if this team is really really powerful with the red buff, like you're gonna really be like, all right, red buff is coming up, first priority, prevent them from getting it.
That's right.
What a cool additional layer for strategy. So awesome. So I guess like you said, these kind of power up as the match continues to cycle. So
How
does that
much do they
up?
power
Yeah,
up?
I guess let's start with an example. Let's start with the Azure Totem.
Okay.
So this is the cooldown reduction
Okay.
totem. And as you can see here, each
it's
time you get it,
respectable.
the first time you get it, you're going to start with the 10%, go up to the 12.5, and then 15 after
Wow.
3 cycles
Yeah.
of the blue.
So, for example,
15's
if you
a
got
weird number to
D2
work
first
with for blue
bonds,
buff,
you could
but-
take the 10%. They wouldn't get that
That goes up
10% at
to
all,
10
and then you
flat
could get upgraded to
10.
12.5
That might
by
be
taking
more
theirs. So you're
relevant at
already
the
at
late
tier 2.
game.
They're still at tier 0, or they
Yeah.
don't have one yet,
Exactly.
which is really cool. So yeah, this is the same way for each of the totems. So the yellow one, the golden spirit totem, will be 5 penetration and 5% penetration. The percent penetration, as you can see in the lower third here, isn't scaling because that would be very, very strong.
be
to have
very
it scale,
strong, yeah.
But the flat penetration does. So 5 through 7 and then 10 for each tier respectively.
And it's important to keep a note as well. By the time you're getting to these tier 3s, it's going to be a little bit later in the
Late in the
game.
game.
Oh, yeah, for
so,
sure.
Unless you're stealing them all the time.
Yes, if you're stealing them very frequently, then it's going to be really nice because you can upgrade kind of to the tier 2 right away if you get the back-to-back ones, which is really, really fun to be able to kind of push that advantage because you're getting a very significant lead if you're going to be able to get those totems to their next rank way sooner than your opponent.
Yeah, what a crazy thing to think about too, how you can snowball that. So yeah, and it just seems like each of
15%
these,
attack
like you said,
speed.
have those 3 levels.
Yep.
So if you're in your own jungle farming your own stuff, it's gonna take a while because that's 12 camps. that's
Yeah, you gotta
12
go through a lot of them.
farmers after the first one. Yeah, it's it's a slow rolling ball, but if you're able to be aggressive, if you push that lead, you start taking their camp. Yeah, that's
but
gonna be
also-
pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it encourages you to be on time for that buff to spawn
Yeah.
as well.
The
If you just leave it
lifesteal
sitting
one
up,
is
not only
actually
are
kinda
you
strong.
risking somebody else coming to invade it and stealing it from you, but if it's just sitting up, it's not being killed, and that's
For late
delaying
game, just
the
a
subsequent
random
spawns as well. So you want to be
15%
there as soon as possible, kill it as soon as
physical ability
possible, or invade as soon as
lifesteal,
possible, and just get them upgraded
red buff
as
is
soon as
actually
possible throughout
kinda-
the game. I said
Yeah.
as soon as possible a lot there.
And each of these different levels have visual effects associated
Yes,
with them
you'll be
as
able to
well,
tell.
where you'll be able to tell, if you look in your camp and you see all of the totems there, if they have a certain level of effects, you'll see. If you have a level 2, it looks a little bit, more important, more shiny, more
Yeah,
special.
CDR
and
is a
level
weird
3
one
is, like,
because
the
you're
most
probably just gonna
special. But
overcount.
yeah, as you can see there from
12%
before,
health and mana
the
is pretty
violet one was
good.
attack
It's pretty
speed,
good
and
for
here
the
we have the
sport.
verdant one, which is max health and mana.
12%.
And eventually, that gets to scaling up really, really nicely for the late game. So some of these will scale a little bit better than others. Some of these will be more important to focus on for your early game. But again, we are just really excited to see what kind of macro play comes out of this, and if people really enjoy the system.
Yeah, I think
we'll
the
keep an eye
blue
on it and
mask
make sure
actually
that,
got
it's feeling
nerfed
good.
by this
Yeah,
for the most
excited,
part.
excited to see it, and excited to see the little verdant green mask there.
Because you
'cause
almost
I love
That's my
like
favorite.
ever
Always
since the
end up with
mask
at
came out, I
least
love their
30%
design, and
CDR
yeah,
right
verdant's
now. It's
definitely
my-
is my favorite. So
Almost
cool. So
always.
those all rolled across the bottom of the screen there. If you had missed one or have a question about any of them, make sure to check out the patch notes. Should be live right now, and they have all this info obviously, so you can follow along and see all the numbers we're talking about. But last but not least, one last little change for Conquest. Looks like back harpies just have a change with their debuff.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah, same area of the map we're talking about. It's the back harpies that then get changed into the shaman camp.
Yeah.
So you'll only see this camp once. We're taking away the attack speed debuff just because it's more of an annoyance. It's blocking some solo lane gods or some gods from being able to play in the solo lane, because certain gods, like good example is like Osiris, right? Clears that back camp with no worries at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't even normally get to 2 stacks of that attack speed debuff on itself. But say a Guardian like, I don't know, Sobek, if you wanted to play Sobek solo, you're just sitting there hitting that forever, and there's attack speed buffs are stacking up on you.
Yeah.
So the good clearing gods already didn't have to worry about this. The bad clearing gods were getting
Sure,
punished
that's fine.
extra. So we're just removing that attack speed buff, so it should make it easier for those
Yep.
Guardians or just lower clear gods to be able to play in that lane or just clear that camp at
Yeah,
all.
just to stay competitive with it.
That's right.
So that makes a lot of sense. Cool.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's Conquest. Next up, we're talking about Duel. Now, for those of you who have followed the show, you know that Duel has varied its bans quite a lot this year so far. A lot of back and forth and this and that. But we're doing it a little differently this time. What's going on with the bans here, Lermy?
Yes. So finally, after what feels like, a several month-long experiment, we had a really good time with our ban system. But coming up in this patch, we are removing the ban system and going to everybody is back
Unleashed.
in
It's a
Duel.
free-for-all.
Unleashed, if you will. But essentially, we were really happy to see, the experimentation coming out from, incorporating a ban list into this mode. But I think overall, we haven't seen any data kind of showing that it has impacted the mode positively or negatively. It's kind of just stayed the same. So in general, our methodology here is that we want to encourage players to feel a little bit more free to try things and do things, especially as, we continue
Sample
to do
size
these
too
exciting
small.
changes.
Yeah.
Some of the gods that are
Unfortunately,
getting changed
the
in
12
patches
people
just
that play
aren't allowed
Duel
in
are
Duel.
still playing Duel.
So they don't get to have the fun time with their brand new
But
changes,
nobody
and
started
that is
playing
really sad.
Duel.
Also, it's
So-
going to be very interesting to see with some more upcoming stuff that we're going to be talking about soon. If the meta changes a lot, so ideally want to give the Duel players as much freedom as possible,
Yeah.
especially with the upcoming changing systems that we'll talk about very soon.
That's right. Yeah, it's a mid-season update, so we have a lot of changes. That means a lot of gods get changed. We just want to allow players to be able to play their gods. If there is a high demand for the ban system to come back in some shape or form, we can certainly
Yeah,
do that.
exactly.
But for now, you're unleashed.
You are unleashed. So for those of you whose ban or who's
Unleashed.
been affected by the ban list and your favorite's been locked behind that wall, go nuts. So we're moving away from game modes now into the world of items. And let me tell you, there are a lot of items. If I had to choose a spot, they were chefing. It was items this time around. So one of my favorite things, obviously, is I look at all of the notes and I format the patch notes, so I get to see a lot of this beforehand. And we're going to talk about a lot of items here, but under the word item balance, there is
Just one.
one item. And I thought that was really funny. It's not item balance plural, it's item singular balance. So before we move
Item
into the
balance.
funky stuff, the crazy stuff,
Blackthorn
how about we talk
hammer
about
next.
item singular balance with Eye of the Jungle.
Yeah, the Eye of the Jungle is the one item that we're going to be balancing in the entirety of the mid-season patch, guys.
there you
this
go.
is it. This is the only
We're
one.
actually done after the
Tragic.
So essentially,
I tried.
we'll get
I
into why
tried,
this
guys.
is the
I
only one
tried.
in just a couple of seconds
Yeah,
here, but let's
there's a
talk
lot
about
more
Eye of the Jungle first. So ever since we did a little switch up to remove attack speed from Eye of the Jungle, put it on mannequins, Eye has fallen pretty clearly behind in terms of its popularity. It doesn't really have a super unique home at this point. It doesn't do sustain better than Bumbo's. It doesn't do damage or protections better really in any way. So what we wanted to do here is give it a very new, unique effect that still plays around this in the jungle mechanic. So now while you're in the jungle, you will be able to rotate a little bit faster between your camps, between your
I don't know
games,
how
whatever you want to
unique
do.
movement
Now you get
speed
3%
is
movement
as an
speed.
effect.
That's right. Yeah, we hope this is a fun one, just something different in the jungle. Get some movement. That's one level worth of movement speed
Yeah.
in the early game. So if you're level 3 and the enemy jungle is level 2, you would be moving 3% faster than they are. Just by having this item, you'll be an extra 3% faster as well. So you can
In the
actually
jungle.
have in the jungle. Yeah. So if you're chasing someone through the jungle, you'll have a fairly big advantage when it comes to either running away or chasing after them. Yeah.
Yeah, and super handy. It's one of those things that you're like, oh, 3%, what does that mean? But
Remember that
you
time
really
we
feel it
removed
when
movement
you're-
speed
Yeah,
from items?
when you're going to help
Because
cover a
movement speed
lane,
is the
going
best
to
stat in the
play a
game. If you had movement speed and
returning
stuff,
from a
people
game
start
to
to
go
buy
back
it.
to
Good
farming. There's just a
times,
lot of
good
utility in
times.
that. So cool. That was item balance singular. Now let's get to the lot of stuff. So I guess we're just gonna dive right into it. Y'all might have seen this on Tier Tuesday. But we're talking Tier 2s today, and we've got a lot of them. So how about y'all guide us into this? What brought about the changing of the Tier 2s?
Yeah, so we were brainstorming what our big beat could be for this patch, and we were going through the ages of Smite Pass and saying, what are things that people have previously liked? What are builds that we haven't been able to explore lately? What's kind of the limitations that are on our
Tier
item
2
system right now, and
items
how
are
can we,
getting
kind of
passives.
break that a little bit in some ways? Not like in an OP sense, but kind of just in ways that we can make it new and fresh and fun. So one of the things that we felt that we had previously utilized a lot that aren't really as utilized anymore, maybe like 2 or 3 items, are tier 2 items.
Okay.
They are a very interesting spot in terms of power spikes, in terms of when you get them, why you buy them, etc. And we just wanted to make that more fun. So essentially, our goal is to kind of adjust the importance of your power spikes when you're getting them, how you're getting them, and then differentiating the build paths that you can go into, and having fun little mini games to play as well for all of your tier 2s. So we're adding new tier 2 items, passes to existing tier 2 items, and a lot of balance to them across the board. So that's essentially the TLDR, but let's get into the specifics, shall
All
we?
right, yeah, well, TLDR over, specifics it is, and we're starting off in the physical branch of tier 2 items. So, I mean, I guess there's nothing to do but dive right in. So first up in the physical tier, we have Bound Gauntlet.
Yeah, so you'll kind of see that as we go through, there are going to be kind of 2 areas of tier 2 items, where some tier 2 items are going to have really cool, unique new things that are going to be, you know, like kind of the center of attention. Like these guys are going to be really cool and new and fun.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that are kind of more inline, kind of along that like starter item kind of pathway, where you know, we want to kind of keep in mind that like we don't want things to be too extreme, but we want that power curve to be a little bit smoothed out between items. And Bound Gauntlet is a great example of one of those items, whereas passive is very similar to its upgrade Soul Eater. And I think we can go into game as well to see a couple of
look through
those
these items.
changes
Great idea.
in the trees themselves. So as you'll see here, trees looking a little bit different.
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit different. So yeah, we're talking about Bound Gauntlet here. So this item in particular is now gaining an extra bit of ability healing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a very mini version of what it builds into.
Yeah.
But you could, you know, this is 1250. You can easily start this in any of your game modes as well. So it makes you think about that as well. We'll probably mention that a lot when we go through all of these items. But yeah, this is a pretty simple one. It is a price increase because it is getting a fairly big buff.
Yeah.
But being able to buy
I'm
this and
not-
instantly get healing from your
I'm gonna wait
abilities
until we
rather
get
than
through
having
it.
to wait until you get
But
the tier
I'm
3
not
and then the stacks on
sold
the tier
on
3.
how much
Just makes the curve a lot smoother and you can make your choices that way.
went into
Awesome, yeah, and I feel like that's gonna be very
doing a
thematic.
tier
of this
2
update is,
revamp
like, this
on an
changes the way
item
that
that
you
you
can
don't
approach building
intend
these
on
tier 3 items by getting the
keeping
passives you want
anyway.
ahead of time. So.
And some of them you could hold onto the tier 2 for a little while because maybe
Yeah.
you just
If
wanted
you
a
catch
little
my
bit of that, not the
drift.
whole tier 3's worth. So
if
you
we
can
reworked
hold
all
onto
the
it
tier
until you want
2s, we
more
put
of
all
the-
this
the
time and
ability
effort
life
into
still
it,
later,
but you're not
and you can move
intending
to
on
different tier
keeping
2
a
and
tier
different
2
one if you
because you're
wanted
going to
to,
upgrade it into
or
a
different
tier
3.
3.
So yeah, you'll have a lot more to think about is what I
I'm
would
not
Ideally, the tier 2s are not going to be
convinced
stronger than the
it's
tier
gonna
3s
matter,
themselves,
but
but they
we'll
are
see.
going to be nice holdovers or nice little things to have in the kind of middle of building these items. So,
Yeah.
you know, ideally, they're still feeling like tier 2s, but they're feeling like enhanced tier 2s.
Enhanced tier.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess staying with the Gauntlet theme, we have Cursed Gauntlet as well.
Yeah, so one big change that you'll be seeing here just from the visual of the tree is that Cursed Gauntlet now builds into Crimson Claws in addition to Devos and Bloodforge, so that's a new addition to that side of the tree. On top of that, the cost is going down by 100 gold from 1,400 to 1,300, and the lifesteal is going up.
right.
So a little bit more advantage in terms of stats and cost efficiency there for Cursed Gauntlet, but not too much else is changing there for that guy. But one more thing we have to talk about in this tree is Bloodforge.
Climb in the tree.
And this item is just a little bit underpurchased right
Yeah,
now, a
it
little bit
is.
hard to buy into. It kind of fights a little bit with Devos, where Devos has the pen, but this has the nice shield and extra power if you want to go for that more expensive price spot. So we're bringing it down just a bit, giving more ability to go into this item should you
Right,
choose
yeah.
to.
Yeah, from 2,600 down to 2,500, so just a little more buyable than it was before. And this is
Yeah.
a really fun item as well, so we want to see more people buying it. We'll keep an eye out, obviously. With all of these changes, there'll be a lot of cost
26 to
changes. We'll keep an eye on
2,500.
things, see how it shakes up the meta and see how
Massive.
what people are building. You know, Bloodforge generally kind of an assassin item, but we've seen it on Hunters too as well. A really fun one that can get you snowballing, so we want people purchasing it rather than just, Devos or even the occasional Crimson Claw sometimes.
Yeah.
But as well, there might be more people buying Soul Eater now that has the upgraded tier 2. So in general, this whole tree gets some changes.
Yeah, it gets to be shaken up a little bit.
Yep.
Well, to jump trees, we're going to talk about bows now, and it looks
Shaken
like
up
short
is a
bow next up on
super
the
strong
list for
word
changes.
for
Yeah, this one's a
cheap.
fun one.
Yep.
Yeah, surprising at that price
No
there. We're
change
going
there.
from 650 to 550 on the tier 1, and you'll kind of
That's-
see why later. But this is exceedingly cheap
Yes.
for a number of reasons. So kind of the whole reason we kind of ended up here was Charged Bow was kind of the talking point when it came to the adjustments that we wanted to make for this tree. Is Charged Bow is a really interesting item because it does kind of do the like Golden Shard equivalent of like helps you clear the lane. Not too crazy for poke, but it is something that can help a low clear physical, attack speed oriented god. And we were like, that's really cool. Let's kind of lean into this a little bit more. So what we've done here is we've taken the cost down quite a bit, but also we're taking the power level of the proc down quite a lot on Charged Bow itself. Odysseus Bow, still the same that it was before, that has not changed. But Charged Bow specifically has taken a power hit and a cost hit. So if you want to get this early, get a little bit of extra clear in the jungle,
1,000 gold.
ADC, solo, any of those roles in particular, you could opt for this item, help you on some of those lower clearing gods.
Yeah, what we saw a lot was, especially when we moved, not Golden Bow, what was it called?
Golden Blade?
That
Golden
one.
Blade.
We removed that one, but we have the shard that you can use instead.
Yeah.
The shard didn't quite make up for Golden Blade, but a lot of people were buying tier 2
I am
charge
concerned that
tier
we're
2 charge
putting a
bow
lot
plus,
of effort
golden shard.
into
That
something
together will
that
make up for it. So we're
doesn't
bringing that
matter
price
at
down so
all
you can
in
get the
Smite,
shard for free,
actually.
obviously.
Yeah.
And then charge bow for just 1,000 gold, and then boom, you got your AoE clear for the jungle. So we saw a lot of Kali's, a lot of Nemesises, Bakasura, and even some like Mercuries if you want to do these crazy
Solo laners,
attacks.
we were seeing some like Arachnes do it. And
Yeah,
things like that.
Arachne was a big one as well. So now it just becomes that little bit more
I'm
accessible.
I'm
but the power
very
comes down with it as
confused.
well, so
I'm not
the
disgusted.
balance
I'm
makes sense.
super
It's
confused.
just enough to be able to clear those side camps.
It's such a
That's what you wanted it for.
weird
alongside the golden
thing to
shard, like I
change.
said, and then you can upgrade
A
it to
massive
Odysseus Bow
tier
either
2
at the start of the game
rework?
or way later. You can just hold on to that tier
whenever
2
you
for that
need it.
clear.
I
Yep.
don't.
Awesome. Well, yeah,
I am
cool.
just.
Again,
I'm just.
shifting
I'm
the
very
gold economy
confused.
around
It's
to,
such a
change your
such
the
a
ability to access
weird
these
thing
items.
to
It's really fun to
choose.
see. And we're still in the bow tree though. We're talking about Hunter's Bow next.
Yeah, so this is, I guess we can start with Hunter's Bow here. We'll talk about what changed about Hunter's Bow, then we'll talk about why it
Yeah,
changed,
why
because it goes into a
moving
little
up the
bit of a
tree, yeah.
more holistic approach. But Hunter's Bow here is getting an increased cost by 50, so not all that much, but it is gaining
Just a little.
a little bit of penetration, just 5 flat physical penetration. So you're probably going, Lermy, why are you putting flat pen on this tier 2? Well, I'll tell you, it's Stormseeker, that's why.
That's why.
Yeah, this would
So
be
this
like.
is kind of an interesting shift here to Stormseeker. The price is going up quite significantly, about 200 gold, but it's also getting a power increase and it's adding 10 physical penetration as well. So we had a lot of discussions around
Okay,
this
I
item.
mean,
It definitely was
Stormseeker
performing a
might
lot
be
better
something now,
after
that's
the last
fine.
buff, but we felt like one of the biggest core things that we missed on our initial push of Stormseeker into the game was that these early game bridge items do not
Maybe
feel good
Stormseeker
keeping them
doesn't super
forever
suck
throughout the game,
anymore.
even
Maybe you
if
can
they
get away
scale
with it.
up
And that's
to
fine.
a million billion attack speed. We definitely understood that if the stats aren't hitting, it's not going to be a very popular item. So we wanted to say, okay, you can still buy this very early. You can still get this online way
No
faster
idea.
than
Anyone
Devos.
who's
Okay, no
cheap,
idea.
yeah.
But now it has stats that are a little bit more applicable going into that late game. So it's not quite a 100% tip in the buff direction because, again, a little bit more expensive, still very cheap, but you're getting a much, much better stat.
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Said it perfectly. You heard it here. So we're moving now away from the bows a little bit, and we're heading towards Piercing Star up next.
Oh, Piercing Star is our first brand new tier 2 that we're going to be looking at here. This is in the Morningstar tree. So yeah, you'll see here. Ooh, we got 3 tier 2s up in this tree. So Piercing Star builds into exclusively Heartseeker, no other item.
Yeah.
And this passive is that every 5 seconds, your next ability will deal 2% of the target's maximum health as physical damage. And as you can see here, this is one expensive tier 2. This might be the most expensive tier 2
Yeah.
I think it might be now.
in the
yeah.
game.
Going into Heartseeker.
Yeah, Heartseeker, a very expensive item on its own, so it made sense to kind of hit that middle point. And speaking of middle point, it is kind of just
Yeah,
a mini version of
the
Heartseeker,
only-
right? So it's a very
the
simple
only
passive,
thing
the same gameplay loop as
that I
Heartseeker,
can
but you get it
see is
online
that
sooner.
they're
You can
trying
stick with
to
it for a while
mimic
if you
a
want to. You don't
little
want to
bit
get the
of the
full upgrade
Smite 2
Heartseeker,
building
but
system.
obviously, when you get that 27,
Like, it's
50 for
not
Heartseeker,
really
you get
like
your
it, but it's a
percentage back,
little
but this
bit
just
more
smooths
like
that
it.
curve out rather than what it was before.
Just to
which was,
try
I
to
think,
maybe
600,
ease
1200
people
all the way up
into
to
it,
27,
but
50. So
Yeah.
now you kind of get the middle point, and it's a lot more smooth for you.
Yeah, a lot more in the middle and a lot less kind of like 2 steps and then a jump. So,
Uh,
well, cool. I hope y'all enjoyed the Morningstar tree because now we're going to a different tree. We're heading over to Short Sword's
One,
tree.
I just
Yep, Short
don't
Sword. This is over in the crit tree,
think-
and we'll get to that other side later here. But let's talk about Short Sword. This was actually a really unique opportunity for us
I
because
just don't
this
think that
item's
making
passive
tier 2s
only
a thing
happens
is just
when you
relevant
have
at
critical
all.
strike
You know?
already. And
It
this
just
item itself
kind
does
of
not
seems
have
like a
critical
waste
strike.
of time
So
that could have been
this
spent
is a
on other
passive that
stuff.
will only start to come
And,
into
like-
effect if you have any other critical item, critical effect, etc. So like your Jingweis, your Sir Cats that already get crit for free, they could use this, but you are going to need another critical strike item otherwise.
I
but essentially what this does is when
agree
you get
with you,
critical strike,
Crane, that
you
not
get some
only is
power,
this a
and that
weird
does feel
thing,
very nice. It's not a whole
I
lot of
actually
power. It's
don't
still
see
going to
how
be
this-
less than
I think
your
this
Rage and your
technically
Deathbringer,
makes
but,
Snowball
once you
worse.
are building into that crit and you're
Because
starting
the
to go
team
into
that's
these more,
ahead
like,
of you
amplifying,
gets a
multiplying
new
effects
tier
kind of
2
ideas when
item,
you
which
come to,
also
like,
has a
Deathbringer,
passive effect on it, which is
it'll feel
technically
really,
a better
really nice.
item than it
Yeah.
was.
does, and they're the only ones
Straightforward
buying
into the
it
very
because they're
sharp
ahead
looking
so
point.
much
Yeah,
gold.
so- good one. Something to highlight on that one as well is there's no.
I think
internal
it
cooldown,
does
so as fast as you can
technically
crit, you
make
can
it
just stack
worse.
that power up
I don't think it
immediately.
makes
There
it
is
as
a maximum
worse
stats
as,
of 3, but
like,
if you can crit 3 times very quickly,
the invade
immediately you're getting
thing.
15 more power.
You
from
know,
that item
or
for
some of the other
relatively
stuff
cheap.
they've done
From
this
just
year,
their
but I
auto
think
attack and everything.
technically
That's right.
it makes it
From the
worse.
moves.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Boom. All right, so speaking of points, there's 8 of them on that adjacent item there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 8-pointed
The shuriken is back.
Ha!
It is so back. And here's
so
its
back.
passive. Let's talk about it. This passive is that when damaging an enemy god with a basic attack, you gain 3% attack speed for 10 seconds, max of 5 stacks. So you might go, okay, well this looks, kind of similar to other items that we've had in the past, but the difference is that you get a relatively low amount of attack speed that lasts for a long time. But you got to make sure that you're stacking this up and maintaining those stacks.
Right.
So if you're building this kind of in the mid game, as you would expect one to go crit, you want to make sure that you're still being active and boxing with the enemy hunter to make sure that you're maintaining those stacks over the long duration. And it's just a nice little bump, especially because you get attack speed going into Demon Blade or Bladed Boomerang.
I'm
Both
gonna
of
be
those
real
guys
with you,
offer
though,
it,
regarding
and,
Snowball.
you're not getting
I don't
that from the actual base
think
deck.
these
You have to
T2s
earn
are going
them.
to change
this
the
one's
game
a
at all.
fun
I
little
think
mini- fun little
0%.
mini game, just kind of want to hit the
Honestly.
hunter as much as you can.
I
get
think
those
it's gonna
5
have-
stacks,
so
and then
far for
every
what
10
I've
seconds
seen,
or within those
0
10
effect
seconds,
on the
just want to
game.
hit them once more just to maintain those stacks so you maintain that attack
Almost
speed. And speaking of
entirely
attack speed,
arbitrary.
I guess you'll notice this for all of the tier 2 items we're talking about. They're very thematic to what they build in. So yes, there is attack speed in those tier 3s that it builds into. Same with all the other tier 2s. So if it builds off crit like Short Sword does, and you get stacks from crit, that's because we're building into a crit tree. So it's very thematic of what it builds into.
Yeah, so not just fun to mix up that middle tree and change your buy
right,
options,
yeah.
but like you said, it's thematic. So
Exactly, yep.
well placed. So from there we moved to 1,000-fold blade, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is our katana tree, and as you can see here, this 1,000-fold blade built into Shadow Drinker, Equinox, and Hasten Katana.
Yeah.
The passive on this one's pretty fun as well, where you gain 5% movement speed for 10 seconds on killing or assisting an enemy god, and this
More
stacks up to
movement
3
speed.
times.
Yeah.
So you get 3 kills,
That's
you get 15%
by
movement
far
speed.
the
Kills or
strongest
assists, I should
item
say,
that
but,
they've shown so far.
Pretty unlikely
By
to happen,
far.
but that'll feel really good when you do.
Yeah, in arena and things like that, that's the really fun one. Other game modes, Conquest, it's a little less likely. It does allow you to snowball or get out after you get a kill.
More
But
movement
arena, you're
speed
just
in the
gonna kinda
game,
be
though.
zooming
Just
around all the time.
a reminder
Assault,
that
things
we
like that.
did
When-
have an
when kills are
entire
happening around
patch
you,
dedicated
this
to
item is really
removing
good.
movement
Yep.
speeds from
I can see the
Smite.
perfect. You got
Yep,
Eye of the
because
Jungle. You have
of all the
this,
problems
you
that
get
it
does
a team
introduce,
fighting
and we
mid,
have
and
now
like, all right, let's go to
a
Phoenix.
second
You're
item
already
that we're
there,
putting
you
in
know?
additional
You are
ways of
zipping
getting
into
movement
Yeah,
speed.
that'd be like what 18%
clarify.
movement speed bonus. Like
A lot,
you're-
yeah.
as long as you cut into the jungle, you're flying.
Yep.
So you're like, go to the Phoenix. I've been at the Phoenix. All right, cool. So Shadow Drinker up next.
Yeah, so Shadow Drinker is kind of along those same lines that we talked about for Stormseeker earlier, where it was very, very cheap, but just not really providing the oomph that you would want out of a tier 3 item. So what we're doing here is we're bumping the cost up by a smidge, 50 gold, 1 less pot in your inventory, 1 less ward, whatever it might be, but you're getting 10 more power.
10 whole power.
So
Yep.
that is a very significant stat stick now at 45.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel very nice, and of course you get that extra bonus passive of the stealth and movement speed as well. And that movement speed does not go away when you get on stealth. So the stealth movement speed not connected, still going to feel like a very
Any
nice bump
reason
in
why
that
they're
direction in
showing us
terms
all of these
overall
in-game instead of on
effectiveness of that
like
item.
the normal
Nice.
format? By the way, I just
I'm all for
realized.
it. I love a little bit of stealth.
I don't
anyway,
care that
so-
much, but I actually just
Next.
realized
This is
we're
new
in
next
game
to it.
instead
We
of them
have
doing
Swift
like the
Edge.
normal bottom
Yeah.
tier.
This is a brand new tier 2 katana.
Brand new tier.
I just-
Looks good.
I just
love,
realized.
I love new art.
Yeah.
This built into specifically
Oh.
serrated edge, and this
well,
one
here we-
has a fun passive as well, where damaging an enemy god with an ability
I guess
grants
now we're doing
3%
both.
movement speed toward them for 3 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So you got 3 abilities, you hit them with 3 abilities, you get 9% movement speed specifically towards them. You got to keep fighting them.
That's aggressive.
Otherwise, you're not getting
More
the
movement
Think
speed.
of it kind of like Gilgamesh 3, where you got to walk towards
Thanatos
his beacon.
passive,
Yeah,
yep.
Thanatos passive. All in that same vein. It works exactly the same. As long as you're hitting them with abilities, you'll get this movement speed buff, and you'll be able to stack it up and keep it up. But again, not a very long one, so got to be back to back to back abilities.
Yeah, that'll
or,
get bottled a
you're gonna
lot
be
just
losing
because
this
it builds
With
into
the quick ones,
serrated
I
edge,
just
which
like
is
that it's
kind of the
aggressive movement speed,
go-to
though. Like,
jungle
we've seen some,
pen.
like-
You
Yeah,
that's
know,
my favorite type.
Jungle movement speed. We've seen some like general out of combat movement speed. This is like, I'm gonna get you movement speed.
That's right, yeah.
So,
You just choose your target and just run straight at them. Hold
run
W. Yeah.
directly at them. Holding W is like a specialty of mine. So I'm all for it. So from Swift Edge, we move to Balanced Blade.
Yes, Balance Blade. This builds off of Light Blade, and now it only builds into Asi and Executioner. So what does Balance Blade do now? Well, it's got a passive that on damaging an enemy god with a basic attack, gain 2 physical penetration for 5 seconds. This stacks up to 3 times. So a much shorter loop, but a much stronger loop
Yes,
as well, because
yeah.
penetration is just generally way more important, especially in this like kind of transition phase where
Now,
you
there's-
know,
there's
Asi
no
Executioner are
world
usually like your 2, 3
where
item
buying
That's right.
2
slot.
T2s
Usually
is
you
more
get lifesteal
effective than
first,
finishing
and,
your tier 3.
afterward, you might want to build into something else.
Not
And
one of
speaking
these items is
of
more
lifesteal,
efficient than a tier 3.
in this tree, you
which
might even
means
say.
Whoa.
there
Penetration on
isn't
this
an
tier 2
intent
some
for you to
reason, Lermy.
Yeah,
stop
there is
building
penetration
them
on
up.
this. So you might be saying, well, there's no pen on Asi. Well, now there is.
It's back.
It is so back. Let's talk about that a little bit here.
Asi's pretty
so
strong now.
this is a bit of a trade, of course. Asi is still a little bit more expensive than your average, item, but it's
Asi
still
just
kind of
got a
on
buff.
that same pace as you would be going for Devos or something like that. So it's getting a little bit less power here, taken from 45 down to 40, but you're trading for
And
10 physical
penetration.
pen, which
Yeah,
is going
really
to
good.
be
Yeah.
really, really nice as
Really.
well. So hopefully this item sees a little bit more action. I think that it's certainly a favorite of casuals, but now might be a little bit more competitive as well alongside Devos.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It was a very, very popular item back when it had penetration on it before, so I can only imagine the same will happen this time around.
Yep.
Yeah, we're coming back. We are.
That'll
so
that'll
back.
definitely be popular
So
for sure.
moving from
We've
Asi,
we've
we have
had
the
Asi
Keen
with
Blade.
pen before.
Yes,
I mean,
another
we've
brand new
done
tier
that. It's
2
not
item
new.
coming
I
on
guess
back.
it's
This
kind
builds
of a
into Chin
revert
and
in a
Duality.
way.
And this is going to
We've
be
already
another
tried that,
very
though. We've played with
expensive
that,
tier 2 item
actually.
tied up here with Piercing Star.
in fact, we had
Keyblade
whole
is going to
metas
have
around
a
it,
new
so-
passive as well that does your basic attacks, deal an additional 10% of your basic attack power as physical damage. And that's quite a bit of extra damage. So think of it like a mini Chinsai or a mini Duality proc, but based off of your basic attack damage. The stats for a tier 2, they're pretty okay,
Yeah.
but the passive is really what's going to make this item shine.
That's right. The passive is what makes it worth it because it is, again, we said for Piercing Star was one of the most expensive tier 2s. This is actually the same price point. So just generally, Duality, Kinsize, Heartseeker, those are your kind of luxury late game big damage items. So the tier 2s are priced accordingly for those.
Makes sense. Don't want to fly too quickly to all that punchy extra damage because things would get crazy. So we're moving forward next to an item
Okay.
that I can assume I know how to say and will say confidently, Shillelagh.
That's correct.
Laylee. Oh man, this is a fan favorite coming on back. And
Yeah.
check out that price, by the way. It is very, very cheap here at
is.
1100. And the fun thing about this price is that you could even start this if you wanted to in something like solo, or it might even be more applicable in modes like assault or joust or
But
duel.
you can't
anything
start
like
these
that where you kind
items
of want
unless
this
they're
early game
removing
mana boom
starter
because
items.
it does
If they're
have some,
removing
it does
starter
have okay stats
items,
for a tier 2,
then
but
a
the
lot of
passive
this
is
becomes
what's really
interesting,
cool, where
because
it
you have
kind
to
of
pick
has
a
that
tier
similar
2 to start,
vibe
and
to
then these
Blackthorn,
effects are
where when you
super
get
effective.
under 25% of your max mana, you
But
gain
correct
AP5,
me if
but
I'm
you
wrong,
don't
they're
get
not
the other
removing
benefit
starter
of the
items, right?
cooldown above.
In which case,
25%
none of
your
these tier
max
2
mana.
passive
so you're
effects
just getting
matter.
Sustain, no extra cooldown, just a little bit of power, health, and that extra mana when you drop under.
They're not
Yeah,
removing
I'm
starters. Yeah,
interested
if
in
they're not
trying
removing
solo,
starters,
maybe
then
start
none of this
this,
is
you get
relevant.
your
If
health
they
chalice.
were,
Could even
then I
save the
totally
extra
get
gold
it.
just by
And
2
then
more
it's super
potions.
interesting,
Then you only have to be
actually.
in lane for another 1100 gold before you get the full Blackthorns, or you can back early, get a starter right on top of that. This is a really, really strong tier 2 for the early game, just because the sheer amount of mana sustain that it has, and the other stats you want as well, just physical power and health, like perfect for your warriors or your solo lane assassins. So I'm really interested to see how people play around this one and some other ones we have coming up.
Yeah, this is definitely mana sustain is always a huge thing. Like if there's a lot of things I can be low on health and still boxing, I'm fine. But when I run out of mana is when I stress. So having an item like this to resort to, especially at the early game when mana sustain can be an issue if you're just lobbing abilities.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'm all for it. So Heavy Hammer up next in the Hammer tree.
Well. Heavy
Well,
Hammer.
well.
We may have seen this
Some
once upon
familiar
a
icons
time.
here, yeah.
A little bit familiar passive from days past. But this passive that only built into Frostbound Hammer, and again, I will remind folks that this is only buildable on melee characters. You cannot buy this on ranged. This passive is that each time you basic attack an enemy god,
I mean,
remember
it's
that?
1400,
gain a stack.
so
when you have 4 stacks,
you'll
your next
get
basic attack and
technically
damage
a Frostbound
slows the enemy
effect
god
before
hit
you
by
get
15% for
Frostbound.
2 seconds, and then additional slows applied from this item refresh the duration. They don't add to it.
That's right.
And then on top of that, we're increasing the cost from 1350 to 1400. So yeah, this is going to be a nice little transitionary item
Yeah.
for those folks that want to build into Frostbound, but kind of want the effect a little bit sooner. You do have to fight people a lot to get this going.
Yeah, you have to get the auto attacks to get the slow. It isn't just a slow on first auto attack and then keep auto attacking them. You have to already be able to chase them at least just a little bit, maybe with a dash or two, and then you get your slow and you can keep up with them again. So this is kind of a mini version, but as well has its own like kind of gameplay loop.
Yeah, for sure. And it really good too for if you're landing against somebody that you're fighting, you're winning these, you're boxing, you're winning these fights, but they just keep slipping away. Like maybe this is the key to like help you lock in the kill.
That's right. You can auto attack someone once or twice, and then maybe by that point you're gonna have to dash after them. Let's say you're Nemesis or something.
Yeah.
You dash after them, you get another auto attack, and you dash after them again, you get another auto attack, and they start gapping you again, but they can't.
We are
because your
spending
next
a
auto
lot of time
attack actually slows them when
describing
your dash is down,
a
so you're
very
getting those few
underwhelming
extra
new
hits
mechanic
after you've already
to
committed to
Spice.
them. So this is an item that really the slow will only come into play once you've committed to hitting the god. So it's interesting to be able to see, well, it will be interesting to be able to see how people play around this. You know, it might be build them in the soul lane as well, not just the jungle. So just not on hunters. That's the main one.
Yeah, just not physical like melee attacks.
Melee.
specifically.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So last but not least in the physical tree, we have the Smithy's Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a good example of a new item that doesn't have a passive. Not every tier 2 item is going to be getting a passive in this patch. This is essentially just going to be more of a stat stick. So you'll see that, these items that don't have passives will either be cheaper, have better stats, something along those lines. But Smithy's Hammer in particular is going to be building into Runeforged and also Dawnbringer. And pretty solid stats, pretty solid price.
Yeah. You
Passive.
could even
It's
start
just
with it, like we
going
said, there's
crazy.
going to be a lot of items kind of like this, where you've got HP 5, power, and health. Like, kind of what else do you want in the early game? You've got an extra 300 gold.
It
to buy
is a
Charles or
little
some
baby
potions, so
Runeforged
you can
hammer,
get creative
isn't
with
it?
your
It's
early game
kinda
builds.
cute.
Maybe you want to choose
It's
your
kind of
starter
cute
later in the
artwork.
game.
That's
and you
my
can do
favorite
that
part
with
of the
items like
patch
this.
so
Yeah.
far.
Nice.
Look how cute he
Well, that does
is.
it
He's
for
like
the
a little
physical
tiny
section
hammer.
of our tier 2 items, but we have 2 sections yet remaining. And next up, whoa, is that Khepri? I love
Hey, he's back.
Looks
Back, the
much
boy.
better without his brain
Khepri. I was about to say,
exposed.
he looks much more adorable.
He's cuter, but I kind of miss the intimidation factor.
Okay. That's all I got for you there. All right, so let's move into magical items. So I guess we'll just kick it off with some talons. We have the Talon.
Yeah, Talon Trinket. So this guy builds into Bancroft's and Typhon's Fang, and so Talon Trinket, unsurprisingly, does some stuff with Lifesteal.
Whoa.
This passive is that each second you are in God combat, gain 1 magical power and 1% lifesteal for 5 seconds, up to a max of 20
That's
stacks.
a lot.
So you spend 20 seconds in combat with another God, you are getting an absolute boatload
Yeah.
of lifesteal
Yeah.
and power.
That's
But
a
again,
lot of
that is a
combat.
long, long time.
That's a lot of
for
combat.
especially squishier characters buying this
be in combat,
to
yeah.
be in combat. But it's a very interesting loop where if you really do want to encourage yourself to be in these fights for a long time,
What
you
if you
will
skip the
get a very big
T2?
reward.
Then you
Yeah,
never
yeah.
get
So
the
you can
effect.
kind of, like, you don't have to go all the way into
As
just
far as
stay in
I'm
combat for
aware,
20
these are
seconds.
not
You can kind of
additive onto the tier
combat
3s.
timer
They
is
just
5 seconds,
disappear
so as long as you
afterwards.
poke them every 5 seconds,
So it's
you'll
like you get
continue
a
to
temporary
restart that
passive
timer and
until you
continue
get
to
the
stay
next
in-
item, which
in
can have
combat and
entirely
build up
different
those stacks.
passives.
Exactly.
And if you can do that and
Which
play
is
that little
also
fun like gameplay
kind of
loop, you
weird,
can stay in combat and
but-
you get a lot of magical power and a lot of life steal, especially for a tier 2 price at 1350.
Yes, and that's why the base power and lifesteal has gone down, because as Ro described there, the mechanic is a little bit easier than it looks like on the surface to actually maintain.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't too unfair, that when you are getting up to these high stack counts, that you're not going crazy and feeling even more powerful than the tier 3s, right? That's still our goal, is to make
Right.
sure these guys are slightly underpowered compared to the tier 3s, but there are ways to access power levels almost up to the tier 3s.
that make it really cost efficient. If you can maintain 20 stacks for an extended period of time, you're getting 65 power from this item and what is it, 25% lifesteal. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane
That's
from a
a lot.
1350 item.
But it is
you
a
have
lot.
to earn it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to earn it. It takes 20 seconds to get there, and then you have to be able to use it after that as well. So you're in combat for
It
even
does,
longer. So yeah, if you can
CK,
earn it and
sure
use it,
does,
it's really,
yeah.
really good. So I want to see some players just kind of get in there and get in the combat and just try to fight until that item is really efficient, and then win the fight after that.
Yep.
Makes sense. Well, see, it'll be simple because I'll be playing Khepri. The enemy Geb will buy it. I'll buy it, and we'll just slap each other in the face for free.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
And that's a solo lane.
Uh-huh. All right. So next up, we're moving to the ring tree, and we have Mystic Ring.
Yes, Mystic Ring. So this is a brand new item as well. This is going to build into Demonic Grip and Hasten Ring. It's going to be 1,300 gold, 40 magical power, 20
Those are
attack
very
speed,
good base stats.
and,
Pretty cheap for those stats.
Yeah, no passive.
Yeah.
Very standard.
Straightforward, beautiful ring that makes you hit harder and faster. So
That's right.
what else is to be said? Absolutely lovely. So staying in this tree, we have Enchanted Ring as well.
Yep, and then Enchanted Ring, which is previously the only tier 2 that has been in this tree. This now builds into Cyclopean and the other ring in this tree, which is Telkines. I know the difference, believe me. There's a lot of rings, okay? This passive is that your next basic attack deals an additional 5+3 per level magical damage.
weird
This effect
hybrid
can only
child
occur
between
once
Telkind
every
and
8 seconds,
Cyclopean.
which is reduced by 2 seconds for each successful basic attack on an enemy god.
Right.
So that might seem pretty, vaguely familiar of 2 different items that may
right,
also
yeah.
happen
It's
to
a
be
combination of
three.
both.
A little bit of a mismatch where, if you want to upgrade up into Cyclopean, you'll get even more proc, a little bit easier as well. And then on top of that, if you decide to upgrade to Telkind, you'll get a much better scaling proc. So you kind of pick your path. You get
That's
a little
right,
bit
yeah.
of both, little taste of both sides, but you got to choose one to go into up to the tier 3. The other things that happened to this item is that the cost went up because obviously you're getting a really nice effect on top of this.
There are
and the power is
some
also
tier
going down from
2s
40
that are like
to 35
kind
because,
of
again,
interesting
more
to
proc,
start,
more
but
power.
starter items and Smite are
It's one of those
legitimately
you have to
so
balance
OP.
to make sure a tier 2 doesn't accidentally become kind of a tier 3.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. We have all of our jewelry on. Time to hit the
And
town.
also,
First
they're
stop, the
called
library. We
starter
have the Book of
items, which
Souls.
means
Yeah,
99%
okay,
of players
this,
are still going to
up
buy
next,
one
we've
at the
got
start,
Book
even
of
if
Souls, which
something
builds
was
into
OP.
Soul Reaver and
You know?
Polynomicon. And again, you'll kind of see the inspiration that we took here when it comes to both of these items are essentially kind of proc items that play around like with your power and the enemies, etc. So this one is that you gain a stack each time you damage an enemy god with an ability or basic attack. At 4 stacks, your next ability or basic attack deals 20 plus 4 per level magical damage.
Yeah. You before you choose your path, you get a kind of taste of both,
Yeah.
and you can say, well, I'm getting my basic attacks a lot, right, to proc this item. So maybe I want to go into a really strong basic attack proc, and you go for Polynomicon. Or if it's your abilities, you go into the strong ability proc, which is Soul Reaver. So it's a taste of both. Same as the ring tree. You just kind of get the tier 2, kind of see how your character or your god is
Is
playing
this
out
entire
and how you're
patch
getting your procs,
happening?
and then choose your path from there.
Because,
Yeah,
like,
the proc also does feel really nice. I will
4
say.
mid laners,
Seeing numbers.
including
big yellow
myself,
numbers. That is the
occasionally
goal of
bought
this tree,
tier 2
for sure.
Doomorb to
Well,
start.
if Book of Souls isn't your favorite book, maybe put it back on the shelf and go
Am
check out
I
the Book
the
of Secrets
problem?
instead. Might be
This
fun.
one's
Is that
really
the
cool.
inspiration
lot.
for this
This,
entire
this
patch?
tier 2 item has a passive type effect that we have never really done before
Okay,
in the history of Smite. But let's talk about the
Hmm.
stats really quick. It's 1,200 gold, 40 magical power, and 200 mana. So
You and
pretty
Ben suck.
solid stats
What you'd
across the
expect from a
board.
book. Yep.
Yeah, pretty normal. But let's talk about that passive. So what exactly does it do? So each time you damage an enemy god with an ability, gain a stack. Each stack does nothing, but when you upgrade this item, the stacks transfer to the upgraded item. You may only
That was
gain one
really
stack
funny.
every 4 seconds and
That
can
was
only
really
gain stacks
funny.
once per god per ability hit max.
This
effect,
stack
all that
does
other,
nothing.
junk
You
that comes with it.
lose.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Good day,
the
sir.
really cool thing about this is that you can start stacking your Book of Thoth or Tablet of Destiny early.
That's right.
so
yeah.
That's
on a tier
great.
2, you could start this item and start these stacks early. So you can see there's 1 stack on Kepri there. There's 2 stacks.
yeah,
you can see the 4-second cooldown. That's right. Yep. Yeah, Harrison's got this. This is it. You just get every time you damage an enemy. Same rules as Tablet.
Yep.
You can get your stacks early.
It-
so this
I
is
mean,
stack up to 50
that's
times
nice.
because Tablet stacks up to 50
That's
times.
nice for those
and I guess that's
items
a little spoiler from the future
to
one
build
as well.
them
The
up
other tier
early,
2
you
Book
know?
of Thoth will also stack up to 50 times now as well and adjust it accordingly. So yeah, really cool that you get to buy your tier 2. You can start with it if you want,
Yeah.
get those stacks on early, even just go and finish some other items. And when you've got a high amount of stacks, boom, you transfer those stacks onto the tier 3 for just 1,350 or 1,300 gold, and you're up and away. You get kind of this head start on your build, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's been really fun to play around with, mixing up when you upgrade this item or, how often you're looking to actually start with it. Picking when you pick up the starter item as well if you want to start with this and then get a starter item when you back. It's just provided a whole lot of new shakeups in terms of, when you're choosing to back and
I
when you're
mean,
choosing
you
to
could
upgrade, which has
definitely
been really,
buy
really
that
interesting to
if
play
you were
around.
going to be a
For
tablet
sure.
god
I
and
mean,
start stacking your
like you said, the
tablet,
two
and then,
big takeaways.
get
One,
second item
when it
sands of
said,
time.
The stacks do nothing. I was like, all right, they cook
Which
it,
is
'cause,
fine.
That's
You
one of
know?
the lines that has like a but right behind
We
it.
hope players
It's
continue
fine.
to read.
I'm just
Yeah.
nothing
But,
so
do
far
something later.
screams
Well,
to
see,
me
you don't have to worry
mid-season
about that. You
patch.
see how quickly I picked up on
You
it?
know,
There you
so
go.
far
Very
all of this
intuitively
screams
fine.
to
I
me
picked up
like
on it that quick. I think it'll be all right. So cool. So you kind of mentioned earlier, Book of
mid-sized
Thoth also
regular
having a few
patch
changes
so
to kind of
far.
align
You
itself
know?
with this,
Yep,
right?
exactly. This is essentially just a shift of all of the various stats that you gain from Book of Thoth from 100 stacks to 50. So the damage requirement is going up per stack, and you get more mana per stack as well. This is essentially no balance change at all, just moving the stacks to 50, so it plays more nicely with Book of Secrets.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So for every stack you get a Book of Secrets, will convert 1-to-1 into both Book of Thoth and Tablet of Destinies.
Perfect. Gotta love that. Continued reading, the chapter 2. All right, so cool. We're leaving the bookstore now and heading over to Sorcerer's Staff.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Staff. This one is the one that builds into Curse Weaver and Warlock's Staff. And this one also has a very cool, unique new effect.
Cool.
Where, upon leveling up, you heal 10% of your maximum health and mana over 3 seconds. And the cost has also gone down from 1,350 to 1,300 gold.
Nice.
If that was
we have
more
never
than
had an
10%,
item with
it
an
would
effect
actually
on
be
when you
interesting.
level up.
Yeah.
So this has a limited amount of uses, as many of you know. You only get to level 20 in a game, but you do level up rather quickly in the early game.
Yeah.
So if you choose to start this one,
That
you'll
was
be
like
getting some nice
20%?
heals at,
25%?
kind of
It
new
would actually
power
be
spikes that
interesting.
really haven't been thought around much before.
Yeah, this was kind of an interesting one because we were thinking about tier 2s in general and being like,
10%
well, you
is
don't
less
have tier
interesting.
2s later into the game for too long because you just have higher gold gains at that point in the game. But in the early game, if you buy this early, what are you doing a lot? You're leveling up a lot, right?
Yeah.
Even in the very early game of Conquest, for example, you're getting level 2 off just the jungle camp. So immediately, before you even get to lane, you're getting a proc of this item. Then 1 or 2 waves, you're getting another proc. Another 1 or 2 waves after that, you're getting another proc. So it's a good amount of sustain in the early game, and then you can upgrade it to your item after that. Or you can hold on to it and just get that mana increase and the health increase every time you level up.
Yep.
I feel like items like this are so deceptive too, because you're like, oh well, what a limited effect. It only works X amount of times. But like you just said, you know, like if you're once you learn how this item works, you could be boxing with somebody and you're like, all right, I'm about to level up.
how much
I can turn
HP and
throw an ability
mana
at the
do you
minion
have in
wave,
the early
start
game?
getting health
That's
back,
like a
keep fighting, win this
first
trade. Like it's just
couple
there's
of
a lot
ones is
microplay
like a
that can be
90
worked into
HP
this, and then
heal.
upgrade it to whatever
not- I
item
mean,
you
it's
want after, and you're
less
on the
than an
road.
HP
So
pot.
That's
You
gonna be
know?
fun. I'm excited to see how the talented Smite players put that to good use.
It's just not
So moving on
actually
from
that
Sorcerer's
interesting.
Staff, we have Enchanted Spear.
Yeah, this is the tier 2 that builds into Divine Ruin and Spear of Desolation.
Gotcha.
So this one is the Pen Tree, of course.
Yes.
And what does Enchanted Spear give? Well, it gives flat
I hate
magical
that for
penetration.
us.
So Enchanted Spear is getting a cost decrease and a magic power decrease, but it's going to be a little bit easier to get this guy in the early game, started off a little bit faster
11
because
pen item that
now
early.
on damaging enemy god once per god per ability, gain 2 magical pen for 10 seconds up to 3 times.
Yeah, that's up to 6 magical pen on the passive alone, so you get 5 on the item as well, so 11 total.
And you'll be
again,
buying
it's
that
this gameplay loop of can I stay in combat? Can I keep
sometimes
hitting this
twice
god
in one
within that 10
match
second
because
stack
Divine
period?
Ruin and
it
Deso
stacks up to
were
3
so
times. I just
core
want
on
to
mages
maintain 3
unless they
stacks
nerf them.
for as long as possible. So within every 10 seconds, I want to hit the enemy god with an ability, keep a hold of that magical penetration, which is making up a really efficient tier 2 item for that price.
Yep.
Rock and roll. And last but not least, under the
No
magical
nerfs, okay?
tree umbrella, we have the Restored Artifact.
Yeah, Restored Artifact builds into a wide variety of items. There's not much that really unites Chronos Pendant, Charon's Coin, and Rada Tahuti. But the one thing they have in common is mana sustain.
Yep.
They all got MP5. So one nice little boon you'll get from going into Restored Artifact is that on damaging enemy god once per god per ability, restore
Any other changes
1%
other than
of your
tier 2
maximum
items?
mana.
Not
That's
yet.
right, yeah, this one's really
Not
interesting.
really.
Yeah, kind of the more layers you think about it, it actually gets more interesting. because,
Invading
what
is
if my god
slightly
has a
stronger.
really cheap costing ability, you know, Thanatos, for example. He doesn't really have mana problems anyway, but just an example
Invading
of
is
a god
slightly
that has
stronger.
really cheap mana costs.
Yeah.
You're basically just gaining mana by hitting abilities.
Yeah,
you
and they
can
added
never
pen
go
to
Oom.
Aussie. There you
And
go.
for those gods that do
There you
go
go.
Oom a lot, but you're hitting enemy gods a lot, there you go. You've got your item to restore
Yeah, I'm
1%
thinking
of your mana every
like
time.
Hebo is a really good character. Changa would be another really good
Yes,
character to get this item on. Just characters that
Chang'e
have
especially stay out of base
those
for a long time. Yeah.
really quick cooldowns that are able to get yourself a lot of mana back real fast.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also makes sense too that it's
Sorry,
once
Stormseeker
per
also
ability
has pen now.
per god because you
Almost
Yeah.
strictly
drop-
item
drop,
stuff right
drop
now.
something
Big
big
crazy.
And also
damage. You're like, I just
almost
got
like
12%
all
of my
tier
mana
2
back.
stuff.
Yeah, that would be a little wild.
That's a
Oh
lot.
boy, this
So,
gives me 6
I
mana
like the
back.
balance
That's what
on
I'm
that.
saying.
It makes it
Stop
feel modest.
pretending like it matters.
Cool.
1%
So we've made it
mana?
through the
You can
magical
suck
items.
my
We're into
mana,
our
bro.
final of the trio of variety items. We're
My
into the
dick is
defensive
longer
area. This
than
is
that
my-
is gonna give you
as a
mana
Guardian
back.
lover, this
Think
is
about
kinda
it.
my bread and butter. So I'm really excited
about
to
it.
dive into these. And we're starting off with the Gem of Fate.
Yes.
Gem of Fate, an iconic, expensive item.
Move on to the next thing.
Iconically expensive, but still
Yeah.
expensive. We felt like Gem of Fate's price
Yeah, that's
was
not very 8 foot
definitely
6. That
a
is
very
true.
interesting cost, and it has been that since I think its introduction in Smite in
That's
like
true.
season 5 or something along those lines. So it's been a long time where it's been 900 gold.
Whoa,
but
why
I
don't
feel
you
like
bra-
over
we
the
need
years
proof.
it's been a little
Whoa.
bit prohibitive
Need
in terms
proof.
of making these items feel a little bit more balanced, especially in that power spike. You're getting this item and then you're getting the next couple of items really, really quickly afterward. So as you see here, the prices are not super different at the top end, but on the lower end, it's coming down quite significantly to let you build into this 10% cooldown a lot faster.
Yeah,
Look at
really
Mr.
the
Big
only
with the
time you
6
were
mana over
happy
here.
that this item was 900 gold when you got it from your Gilgamesh passive. Like, oh my god, great, I got a great value 900 gold starter. So we're just bringing it down to 750. It becomes more applicable to all gods. And then as you can see, we can only see half of the tree right now because we're on Khepri. We're not going to make JMac change. Just take my word for it. The Knight's Shield, which is the one on the very right, the Apprentice Staff, those two that you can see both down from 1600 to 1500. And then Honed Edge, I know JMac can't see it right now, but same treatment down from 1600 to 1500.
Yes, and then every single tier 3 in this tree is retaining its tier 3 cost, except for Erendite, which is going down 100 gold, again, to kind of get more in line with the jungle meta of keeping things at that reasonable price. Right?
Well, good stuff. That kind of
To
covered
what?
that
Get
tree
more in line
beautifully.
with
So now we're
somehow
moving on
only
to,
buffing
some cool
junglers
rocks. We
in a
have
meta
Sage's
where the
Stone.
jungle
I guess
is
Timofey's
7/10 of your
Yeah.
team.
Second cool rock.
So Sage's Stone built into Erosion and
Okay,
Abyssal
it's
Stone.
okay,
Yeah.
it's okay,
The cost
it's
is
okay,
going down
it's okay.
quite significantly here from 1400 to 1250. The physical protection is also going down just a little bit, and the magical protection the same amount, but the health is going up. So we're doing a little bit here where we want to make sure that these items are feeling differentiated, but still related to the things that they're building into,
Yeah.
right? Another item that does not have a passive, but a very, very solid stat stick that is significantly cheaper for slightly less prots, slightly more health.
Yep. And the reason we change these stats so heavily is because on the other side, on Enchanted Stone, again, no passive. It is new, but no passive on the other side, just stats. So we made these items as different as we could in terms of their stats. So Sage's Stone, as you see on the left there, and then moving to the right, we see the Enchanted Stone, different stats, different cost, just to make your choice a little bit more interesting when you go into those tier 3s.
Nice. And yeah, like you said, new. So cool to see that in there as well. So all right, Emerald Mail is up next.
Yes, this is another exciting one over in the Emerald Tree. Surprisingly, I know, not in the Mail Tree. This
Had
passive
both words. It makes
is that
sense.
getting
Sometimes.
an assist on an enemy god
Okay.
or minion grants protections for 5 seconds. You get 2 prots for 5 seconds. That goes up to 5 stacks. So again, all of these tier 3 items do provide protections in some form or another. Gauntlet of Thebes eventually gets prots.
Right.
So that's kind of the pathway that we were looking at here.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cost is also going up to compensate for that a little bit.
Yeah, but 10 prots would be really efficient. 5 stacks of 2, as long as you just staying around waves, staying around enemy gods that are dying. As long as there's action going near you, and you stick around and use those stacks, that item ends up being really cost efficient for what it is. Before it was kind of just the stat stick of health and HP 5. Didn't do a lot for you. Now you can actually play around the cool new passive.
And it gives you a great way to
All right, give
engage,
me a
too,
1
you know,
in
if you
chat
you're
if
playing
you
with somebody
care
who's
about
very
these
clear,
tier 2
throw
items,
ability
or a
through the
2 in
entire
chat if you
wave,
don't
let
care.
the
1
off
for
the entire
caring,
wave,
2 for don't
and
care.
then you can start boxing right after that because you
And
have
then
those
you're tanky.
protections built up. Yeah, so really cool. So
There, Hi-Rez, I did
similar
my own
tree to the
poll.
Emerald
I did a
Talisman.
poll
Yep,
for you.
this one built into Stone
95% of
Gaia
people
and just,
don't give a shit.
Underbought. I would say
Very, yeah.
significantly underbought item.
Go to
So
Son of Gaia.
yeah, we're dropping the price
did a
here
poll
from
for you.
1400 to 1250. Just
I
a
know how
nice
much you
big
like
bump
surveys.
in the more purchasable direction to see if people want to play around with this knockup passive, which
Ah.
can be kind of narrow, but in the right matchups.
That's right.
Tier.
This
Matchups,
is
it
such
goes
a
hard.
By all
weird
means.
use
So,
of
like the fire sale we have, a lot
time.
of these items, awesome price cuts. All right, so next it says new right here. I love the word new.
If
Defender's
all of
Blade,
these
huh?
things were
Yes,
happening,
this tree is looking quite a bit different
as
here. So
like a
Defender's
side
Blade
thing,
is going to be
you
building
know?
into Lotus Sickle and also
like
Relic
during
Dagger,
a
two
regular
more
nobody patch, it's
supportive
like, oh, you've got a new
oriented,
god,
items
and
that you'll be checking
also
out here.
look at all these tier 2 stuff.
Yeah,
You'd be like,
this
oh,
one,
that's a cool
you can hover
patch.
over it there, JMac
Nice, I got a
for us
new
so
god,
that
and I got a
everybody
bunch
can
of
see
tier
it.
2 item reworks. You'd
It's
be like, that's
1350
neato.
gold for Defender's
First of
Blade,
all, there's no more
150
gods in
health,
Smite.
5% speed,
Second of all,
and at 10%
this is the
cooldown
mid-season
reduction.
patch.
Yes, that's
This
kind
is
of wild
supposed to be the
get
second
cooldown
biggest
reduction
patch
at that
of the
point
year.
in the game as well.
Yeah.
These are kind of underbought items as well, and we kind of had that similar discussion
is
that we did with
crazy to me.
Stormseeker,
This is
where it was
crazy
like,
to me
should
that
we
this
bump
is your
this
second
cost
biggest
up?
patch of the
You know,
year,
maybe
right
not,
now.
because for supports especially, it's going to be very difficult to kind of
Right,
go into
yeah.
those higher price points, but perhaps making this transition a little bit more exciting by putting some more enticing stats, I might say, on the tier 2 is going to feel very, very nice. So 10% cooldown is really the standout here for Defender's Blade.
Yeah.
And to kind of move into the tier 3 a little bit here, Lotus Sickle
Jump up the tree.
is getting a slight increase in protections from 20 to 25 on that physical side.
Yeah, another underbought item as well. So we hope people actually just get eyes on these items. They see them in patch notes and they can buy them and actually realize how good they can be.
Gonna feel real nice.
Gonna be real nice, especially for our little friend, the Lotus Sickle. So after the Lotus Sickle, we have Curse Blade to talk about.
Yes, Curse Blade, this built into just Toxic Blade.
Yeah.
But essentially, this is going to be the anti-heal component of Toxic Blade, but on Curse Blade.
Yep. Yeah, just another
That
mini
would be
version to smooth
interesting
out
for
that
a
curve.
tier 2
A lot of the
anti-heal
problems
if
with
it wasn't
we actually
the
saw it
worst
recently
item I
with
could
Smite 2,
imagine.
where there was a very low-cost anti-heal item. Sometimes when you're like, oh my,
That is
the enemy team has
almost
healing, we need to
interesting,
take care
except
of it
for the
right now,
fact
but you don't have
that
enough
it has
gold
to build into
get a
Toxic
full tier
Blade.
3 item where all your anti-heal is. Now you can get kind of a mini version, just 1250 gold, get that 20% online. That'll help you out a little bit until you can get up to the 2300 cost of full Toxic Blade.
Yeah, that's really helpful to have because I feel like that decision always comes right after. It's like, oh, well, I just bought my.
That's actually a
tier
bait
3, I have
item
no
because it's
gold.
taking
Yeah,
you
you just lost
into
this big
Toxic
team
Blade
fight, yeah.
instead of
It's like I can
taking
either
you
sell
down
and
the
be completely
executioner
inefficient,
path
or
with
I
the
just have to
glyph,
wait till I get
which
the
is
money. So, yeah,
objectively the
having
right
that
thing to
step
do.
up is gonna be really
You know?
handy for sure. So now we're moving into the Talisman territory with Silver Talisman.
Yeah, Talisman time. So as you can see here, Silver Talisman is going to be building into only Pestilence. And the reason is because it also is going to be providing
That's nice.
earlier anti-heal.
Got it.
This one is kind of
That's
the same vibe as
convenient.
Pestilence, where if they're within 55 units, their healing is reduced, and again, it
convenient.
does not stack with similar
It's like a
auras,
little
so
baby
no
item before
doubling
your
up with
big item.
Contagion, no
That's
double
nice.
Pestilence and Silver Talisman. You know, you got to make sure that you are
And Pestilence is
sticking
an
to
actually good
one.
item.
Yeah, choose
So it's
your
relevant.
one. Let that be the one, because otherwise, again, not efficient. So now we have the word new yet again with Renewing Talisman. Looks
Yeah.
pretty. I like it.
Brand new tier 2 item here, building into Absolution Heart Ward and Talisman of Energy, with the passive that each time you are damaged or damage an enemy god, once per ability of course, you gain a stack. Upon reaching 5 stacks, you lose all your stacks and then restore 100 mana in a 40 unit radius around you.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So one of the cool things that this item kind of builds into is you get a lot of these useful team effects, right? So
Yeah.
these are all very supportive versus, you know, harmful from the Pestilence side of things. So
The
being able
effect
to
is
grant some
almost
mana back to your
interesting,
team is a very fun effect. It
Except
also is very
for
thematic
at
to the
high
tree in
level,
terms of helping
mana
your team.
isn't
And,
a
yeah, just a
problem.
nice little mana boost as
As
you're on
long
your
as
way
your
to these
solo
other
later gets
more
literally the
standard mana
first
boosts.
2
Yeah, pretty good
totems,
stats for the
you
cost
know?
as well. Only 1250 for 35 magical protection and 150
It's
health.
better than
and also, obviously, that
nothing.
mana hitting all your allies around you. It hits you too. So
But
you get
it builds
that
into
bonus as well.
Absolution,
Yeah.
Heart
Very,
Word,
very
and
handy.
Talisman,
next on the
and
list,
you're
we have
never going to
Spellbound
buy one of
Kusari.
those early
so
when the
this is
100
in the Kusari
mana would
tree,
be
of course.
relevant.
And we split these up in a very interesting way where you have the more
know?
selfish Kusaris and the more selfless Kusaris. On the left, we've got our selfish ones. So we're talking about Spellbound here, which builds into Oni Hunter's Garb and Genji's Guard,
Yeah.
with the passive that when you are hit by an ability that deals magical damage, gain 5% damage, magical damage mitigation for 5 seconds with an internal cooldown of 12 seconds.
That's right. Yeah. So specifically against magical gods, as this whole tree is really,
Yeah.
you're building it. You need I need some sudden magical defense. This is actually a
Ah.
really efficient 1250 gold to buy this item. Really efficient damage mitigation for the magical gods specifically. So it won't help you against the hunters and the assassins and the warriors that are hitting you. But if you're dying to mages and you need to fix that real quick, this is an item to do it.
And 5% damage mitigation might not seem like a lot, right? But
yeah,
against your lane opponent, especially if they're trying to combo into you, or there's a magical jungler trying to gank you, or the mid laner has rotated, or the support is smacking you, any of these situations, it's really going to help a lot, and it's going to add up over time.
Yeah. And sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, for the enemies playing against this as well, you can see that it only has a duration of 5 seconds, but an internal cooldown of 12 seconds. So you can kind of hit them with a low damaging ability, wait those 5 seconds, and then for the next 7 seconds, you've got full freedom where they don't have that damage mitigation, and you can burst them like you normally would. So both sides can play around this item.
Yeah, you can commit after you're like, all right, 5 seconds is over. Like now's the time. Throw the ults.
Yeah, is there?
Super cool.
Hey,
Yeah. So next up, here's a new word that I've never gotten to use before. Daimyo's Kusari?
Yeah, Daimyo's Kusari.
Daimyo's Kusari.
So this builds into Void Domaru and also into Shogun's Kusari. And this passive is that for each enemy god within 55 units of you, reduce all enemy gods' magical protections by 4. For each allied god within 55 units of you, increase all allied gods' attack speed by 5%. So if you got a lot of allies with you,
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of attack speed amongst yourselves. If you got a lot of enemies around you, you are reducing all of their prots by a significant amount. So again, one of those best of both worlds items where it really depends on how in
I
there you're
think
getting. If you're around your allies more, you're going to be helping them a lot.
That
but if you're around
item
enemies more,
might
you're
be
hurting them a
better
lot.
than the tier
It's
3s.
another one of those where you get a bit of both of the tier 3s.
I
and
think
then
we
choose
did
your
it.
path from there. If you
I
wanna
think we
continue
found the
playing
item
aggressive and stealing their protect or taking
that
their
you don't
protections,
upgrade.
then you upgrade into the offensive side.
think we
And
made
if
it.
you wanted to stay with your team and give them the attack speed, then you go into the
It's a
defensive
20
side. So
flat
you just kind of
pen
choose your
reduction
path.
and
If you get both
25%
from the tier
attack
two for
speed
only
increase.
1,300 gold, and then choose from there.
Yep.
Nice, yeah. Decide based on the flow of the game.
We did it.
That's right.
So next up, we're moving
We
over
found an
towards
item that mattered,
breastplate,
and now you
specifically
don't
the
buy a
silver
tier
breastplate.
3. I think it's technically better.
So you'll see
As
that
one item
this tree has
slot.
once again been split up into 2 different pathways, but silver
We did it.
breastplate is the one on the left. This now builds into breastplate of regrowth and breastplate of valor. The cost has gone up and the physical protection has gone down, but that's because, again, another 10% cooldown reduction on a tier 2.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting and applicable stat for those that want it. You're getting it anyway on the upgrades. So we're seeing if this kind of more power spiky method where you're getting more stats for a little bit more of a price point feels really good to players. And again, you are trading off some of those protections, so you're going to be able to be a little bit more offensive oriented with your extra abilities.
I'm feeling
to
a
be
little
fired
bit more
out. But
offensive
you are going to be
actually
paying for
during
that a
this
little bit
patch
in a
notes.
little
I
bit more
am.
money and a little
I
bit less
am.
protections.
And it builds into that breastplate of regrowth, which is again another underbought item. We're gonna help it just a little bit by adding 5 more protections to breastplate of regrowth, as you see, up to 50 now. I think that's even with everything in that tier 3 tree. I think they're all 50 now.
Yep.
This had to happen, so they're all 50.
Yeah, just bring everything in line a little bit and help breastplate.
Couldn't just leave it at 45. The other one, yeah.
Yeah.
They ought to be friends.
It started feeling bad. So now, see the word new again, another new tier 2. We have the sturdy breastplate.
Yes, this is going to be building into contagion and spectral armor, but these
That is an
this guy
item,
is
for
another
sure.
stat stick of an item. It's got a lot of props.
I can confirm
for
that
very,
is a
very
tier
cheap.
2.
1050 is a very, very solid price for a tier 2 item. So this is going to be your power spike through stats versus power spike through passive of this tree. And so you are really enjoying to see some very solid stats there.
The most interesting part of this one is you're seeing HP5 instead of MP5 on this side of the tree in the breastplate tree. So very, very different than how it's always been. This whole tree has been MP5. But as we move on, we can move on to spectral armor now on the right side. And you can see no more MP5. It is now HP5. So this side of the tree, because they come from this tier 2, is now that health per 5 seconds instead of the mana per 5 seconds. So you get to get the tier 1, you just get your physical protections, and then you choose your path from there, whether or not you want to go health oriented or mana oriented. And then so on the right with sturdy breastplate is your health, and then contagion again 25 HP5 instead of the MP5 that it previously had. The stats are getting adjusted as well. Spectral armor down from 250 health to 100. Sorry, increased from 150 health to 250. So quite a bit tankier than what it was before.
Yeah.
And because of the mana got removed on contagion, because again thematic with the health rather than the mana, we've added another 100 health to that item as well. So 200 health on top of the physical protections and the HP5 you got. Very tanky side of the tree, whereas the other side is more utility. Could be offensive with your cooldowns and your extra mana to use those abilities. But on the right side, you've got the very defensive options.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the all right, what do I need for this game? I have a very direct path to choose which side of the stats I want. Just feels comfortable. It feels like a very intuitive change. You kind of flow up the tree based on the match.
Yeah.
So I
I
had the honor
am
of getting to tweet about
underwhelmed.
this myself. We have spiked shield coming
Vastly
Yeah.
underwhelmed.
up. Shield with spikes in it.
It is indeed a shield with spikes in it. This builds into Gladiator Shield and Void Shield
Yeah.
for 1,400 gold, so a
It is
more
a tier
expensive
2.
side of things, but also
Still is.
a lot of props,
Haven't
solid
stopped
amount
being
of
a tier
health
2
and
yet.
some good HP5. So
I
nice
thought
bit of
surely.
sustain as well going into
But
that
it's still
side
a
of the
tier
tree,
2.
That's right.
which is always nice.
And then we can take over to the tower shield, which is
Don't
also
leave,
having
Big
some
O. I
changes.
need you.
Yeah, so this guy
We
builds
suffer
into
through this
Phalanx
together.
and Berserkers, and the passive might seem vaguely familiar to you. This passive is each second you are in God combat, gain 1% attack speed for 5 seconds, max 10 stacks. So again, kind of similar to what we saw with Talon Trinket, but a little bit less time in combat because we know that
I
you know,
mean,
in
I
the
haven't
soloing
looked at the
especially,
direct
those
patch
guys
notes,
like
but
to brawl.
I can
So
only
that would be a
imagine.
pretty significant
I can
stat
only
bump if
imagine
you
that
were
we're
to be
spending this
getting even more
long
stacks of
and
that.
this
So
much
wanna be
time on
careful
tier
with that,
2s
but we are
because I
pulling
bet
some
there's
stats
not too
from
much
this
else in
item
this
as well
patch.
to make sure that it's feeling pretty fair.
I bet.
That you're getting those extra
Nope,
bumps.
I'm not gonna
especially,
spoil for myself,
the
Tubby.
attack
I'm
speed
gonna
as well, 'cause
experience
that
this
is
live.
brand new for this
I'm gonna experience
level.
this live.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go
So this
read
is your
them.
kind of your auto attacker version.
I'm
You can auto
making a
attack
bet
whenever you
right
want,
now,
obviously,
so I
unless
can
you're
be
disarmed,
wrong.
Of course. And then the other talent trinket with
Surely
abilities. Obviously,
there is
abilities
much
have
more
cooldowns,
depth
basic
to
attacks
the
do not.
mid-season
So, well, they have an attack time, but they don't have a
patch.
cooldown. So you're getting in much more often,
Mid-season,
so you have the chances
second
to get
biggest
them
patch
within
of
that
the
5
year,
seconds instead of the talent trinket
game
one, which is within the
changer.
10 seconds for abilities specifically.
Yeah. That makes sense to me, and like you said, fun for brawling, right? Because if you're
It
really
is,
getting
yeah.
into each other's faces, you just build that attack speed, and it's just who has the better sustain. Guess we're gonna find out. So next up, we have Steel Mail.
Ooh, this one is very
This
interesting.
one is, yeah.
This one builds into only Mystical Mail. And you might be wondering, Why does build into only Mystical Mail?
Pretty easy.
Oh,
yeah.
because it's like
Yes.
It
Mystical
is
Mail,
the
but in
mini
tier
version
2.
of Mystical Mail.
I get
so
it.
If you're really struggling in the early game for your clear, or whatever you're playing, let's say Solar Lane, because this is a tank item, you can get this magical damage per second to all enemies around you, just in the 25 units, same as Mystical Mail, but for a much lesser number, and not a number that's scaling either. So for 1,400 gold, technically you could start this. Not too many potions though, just to you could also
don't get
just
it?
get your clear. You get a mini version of Mystical Mail. So if you're a I don't know, a Sobek or something that doesn't have much clear in the soul lane.
It's not that
Now,
these
all of a
tier
sudden you do, so
2s
you can buy this,
aren't
you can kind of get
better
your clear
than they
online for at least
were.
a couple waves. You won't
It's
have too
not
many
that they're
potions, so you have
not
to back
relevant.
early, but you can
It's
then
that
back.
you have
can get
these
your starter
tier 2
items and
items
upgrade
for,
to
like,
Mystical Mail, and then you've really got some
2
clear. So
minutes
this just brings the price point down
tops
to get the value that you want from
throughout
this
an
item,
entire
down to
game
1,400 gold value.
before you
But
back
again,
and
it won't
buy it
scale.
into the
Once you get
tier
in the
3.
tier 3, it'll still be worth its
Tops.
upgrade into the full Mystical Mail, but this
Which
will
means
give
we're
you just a
talking
little bit of
about
a taste.
at most
Exactly.
And it's one of the several
a
options we've
segment of
talked about thus far
gameplay
that gives
that
you
is
that
slightly
a little better
different
clear if
for the
traditionally
most
you do not clear that well,
tiniest bit of
which
time.
can open up a whole world to you. You know, if you
Exactly.
know?
A lot more gods can be played in a lot more positions when you start to do this type of stuff.
Yeah, that's really fun. So
except
next
for
up,
that
we
one
have
item
the
that you're
word
going to
new
keep.
one
Yeah,
more
except for
time,
that one
and
that goes
that's
into
Bronze
Shoguns.
Yes,
That's just a
Bronze
forever
Mail, the
item.
other side of the tree here builds into Sovereignty, Midgard, and Emperor's Armor. And as you know, we like to do a little bit of combining here in terms of effects when it comes to
for sure.
the kinds of things that you upgrade into. So Midgard's kind of anti-attack speed, anti-basic attacker, kind of a similar idea with Emperor's Armor when it comes to, you know, the ability
Protecting
to
your towers, yeah.
protect your towers. Similar idea, but a little bit different because you're getting sustain from Sovereignty. So instead of getting sustain, you're getting a shield. And when are you getting those shields? When you get basic attacked. So getting hit by every 4th basic attack you're damaged by grants 75 health shield that lasts for 5 seconds or until it is destroyed. These shields don't stack, they refresh.
Yep.
So you can't just keep gaining shield. It'll only ever be up to 75 health. And then of course, checking out the stats here, it is 1250 gold for 20 physical prots and 150 health.
Really cool too, because a lot of effects are based on how often you're hitting somebody.
Yeah.
But to see the every 4 hits, every time you get hit for the 4th time, you get a benefit. It's kind of cool because it incentivizes getting in their face, trying to block the attacks, and then gives you in segments more health to survive, being that wall, being that shield. So what a cool effect, man! I love Guardian stuff. So
right.
next up we have Cloak. of
Next up!
Concentration.
Yep, this is the last tier 2 that we're seeing any real big change to. This is over in the Cloak Tree, of course.
Nope,
and
I'm
we
here,
are
Tubby.
doing a
I'm
bit
here
of
doing it.
adjustments here. It's gaining a passive that when you are hit by a hard crowd control, steal 10 protections from all enemy gods within 20 units for 5 seconds with an
They're
internal
trying to tell
cooldown
me something.
of 5
I
seconds.
just know it.
Yeah, stealing is the key
Yes.
word there. So you're taking the protections from them, everybody around you, and giving them to yourself. So if you had 5 enemies around you, that's a lot of protections,
lot of
for
protections.
you, and taking 10 from everybody around you. So really efficient. Again, if you're getting in the middle of people in your arena games or just a big team fight in Conquest, if you get hit by that hard CC, let's say you're a frontliner that would buy this item, you're diving in and immediately you get CC'd as soon as you're in amongst 5 people. Boom, that's 50-50 protections, and they're all losing protections for your team to come in and kill them. So a fun item to play around again.
For sure. And one of those too where, you know, as a frontliner, as some kind of guardian, you're like, all right, I know for a fact if I dive directly at them, they're going to CC me on reaction. And you feel, you know, it's big brain play. It's Khepri brain play. Because you're like, you've CC'd me in the middle of your team. That's what I wanted to happen.
And again, it's thematic to the tier 3s that it builds into. Obviously, Spirit Road procs in the same way, and then in your Mantle of Discord, you're also doing this area of effect, but it's a stun this time. So again, you get the taste of both, and you kind of just choose which one you want to go into from there. Or you can hold on to it for a while too.
Well, you can
And that's the
hold on
last
for a
thing we have
while.
to talk about here, actually, is Mantle of Discord just joining in the fire sale.
Yeah, once upon a time, this item was one of the best items
Everyone
in
would
the
buy
game,
it,
if
yeah.
not the best item in the game. And that mantra has fallen off quite a bit
Yeah.
in recent times as, you know, other defensive items have been added into the game. Other effects have gotten stronger. It's gotten slightly weaker. So we were just bringing the price down a hair, about 100 gold. So it's going to feel a little bit nicer to buy into, have that extra mantle stun if you need it to get away.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so we've done it. We've talked about the items.
A lot of items.
That was a lot. So tier 2 is really getting shaken up though. So JPack, thank you for guiding us through
Yeah,
all of
thank you,
course
JPack.
well and knowing the trees that well. I'd have
Really
been up there
getting shaken
typing in
up.
things and people would have had to suffer through seeing me not know how to type words. So good stuff. So there's obviously a little more balance to talk about. We have some gods we want to get into in a little bit. But let's take a breather from the balance for a sec and check out some of the other content coming to the mid-season update, starting with the Doom Circuit cross.
I can't believe I'm gonna say
For those
this.
familiar, we have a new cross.
Thank God for the
every
skins.
Single update. And these are things that provide cross-gen skins for Smite 2. So if you want to, there's a free track obviously, but if
Thank
you want
you.
to buy in, earn the levels throughout the update,
Anything,
get a
save
bunch
me.
of beautiful cosmetics for Smite 1 and then some cross-gen Smite 2 skins as well, which are always fun to look at. So
Yeah.
let's start by looking at the first of them, which is Ceramic Circuit Kali.
Ceramic. Oh,
Oh.
yeah, ceramic.
Yep,
Ceramic.
that, ceramic is indeed that material.
Not quite as nice looking as the who was that? Discordia ceramic skin, I think?
Yeah,
It's
the-
very polished,
Yeah.
prim, proper. This is a bit more.
Battle
She has
worn.
blood on her
Airy.
face. Yeah. Less polished.
What kind of event is she crashing in on here? My goodness.
I don't know. It's
A wedding, yeah.
yeah, a wedding, a gala maybe. They have like the stacked wine glasses or whatever, so you know it's a fancy event. Like, but yeah, I mean, what else is to be said? She's horrifying and made of porcelain.
Oh,
Wow, yeah, very shiny.
Whoa, yeah, that like glows.
Look at the textile too. You can see all of that like energy coursing through the circuitry. I like the like transparent
The floating
level of the
arms.
material too.
Yeah.
Oh, and the arms, dude! I didn't even notice that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Man, whoa.
Yeah, what a unique presentation for a four-armed character to have just the two kind of floating back there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I just can't get over like the immediate transition to wow, that thing is shining. So Kali looking really good here. Let's check out the Smite 2 render for this one.
Yeah, if it was shiny in Smite 1, it's gonna be
Yeah,
shiny in
I
Smite
bet.
2 even more.
Well, the textures on the weapon actually is what really stands out to me. You get the
Yeah.
the highs and the lows of like those
Like the
dark bits.
engraved.
Right, right.
Yeah, the engravings. Super, super cool.
Awesome.
Love how like shiny it is.
I
It's just
agree.
so cool.
I agree. Yeah, I'm a fan of shiny. I don't know. It's just
Alright.
because I have the brain of a pelican.
Shiny.
So to move on in the Doom Circuit Cross Gen Pass, we have Nanomancer Baron Samdi.
This team is so cool.
It says, "Look
Yeah,
at this
always
smile."
like this.
So good.
It's just really creepy.
I love when smiling, which is
We're all on
generally,
the
you know,
Doom circuit,
happy
whether
and
we want to be
joyous.
or not, folks.
I love when you can find a way to make
This
it.
is the track that
bad.
we're on.
Yeah.
We're on the highway.
Yeah, I don't want to
to
go up
hell.
against that Baron. Let me just say.
No, I think
Oh, and
the
is that
red
his
piercing
coffin?
eyes.
Oh,
Oh,
he is
yeah, I
coming out
guess
of his
it would
coffin,
be.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Swirling void inside the coffin.
Yeah, you do not want to get ulted in there. That's not the life of the party. I think.
Yeah,
I
you
think
end
you're
up
lying to
going-
me,
You end up going where he came from. Okay, that's so cool.
dude. Oh, I love the jacket.
Look at how happy that.
Oh, I
He
see, so
kind of looks
stylish.
like
Isn't he supposed to be a
the
scary robot?
he kind of
Baron's
looks like
always
the guy in
stylish. Bro, someone's
Terminator
stylish
as he
look.
was melting
Look
in
at
the
that
lava.
dude
You
as
know what I'm
well.
saying?
Like, my boy.
Bit
That's
of
just
rock star
Baron.
here, yeah.
Like no matter what form he takes, no matter if he's a cartoon skeleton or
Yeah.
scary robot from alternate red dimension, like he is always styling on him.
Oh yeah.
It's just the Baron.
did have
way.
the
It's
same
one of
thought.
things
We
I
did.
love about him the most, I think. I also love the skull on top of the staff. By the way, can we shout out how high definition that looks? Like, it's just a really well made skull. Yeah, we gotta wait for that, like the pan. Like, look at
Yeah,
that.
there it is.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's check this out in Smite 2 real quick.
Again with the medals.
Right?
Yeah.
We're always shouting out the textures.
I would
and really,
argue,
that plus the
Dandy,
lighting
that
is
that
what
is
stands
high
out the most
Level up,
here.
yeah. Yeah, look
I
at the
would
lighting from
argue
the sneak
that.
as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Imagine that in game, yeah.
Really
and you
putting
can
the
see kind of
mid
lights coming
into
out of the rib
mid-season
cage
patch.
as well. I just love how like grounded it feels because you can see the effect
actually a
that
pretty good
Snake
title.
has on like that
High
left side
res.
of his clothes as well, where the light is coming from the snake.
Putting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mid
That's so sick.
in
Super
mid-season
cool.
I'm constantly
patch.
drawn to the
It's a good
big
title.
red eyes on
Yeah.
both the skull and on his head with no eyelids to like short, like you get the full circle of the eye. Very threatening to me for some reason. Like
Yeah,
being that
what is
specific.
it with the eyes this patch, guys? What's going on?
That's true. We gotta talk to our design
Oh, no.
team. They
Don't-
we need some eyes.
don't
on
tittle
them,
it.
Make sure they're
No, I
okay,
think that's
especially for the
different.
Khepri. Man, all right. Well, let's
No,
not
I
go
don't- I
back
think
there.
that's
Let's
something
just say that
different.
This is the Doom Circuit Cross
Don't
Gen
tittle
Pass.
it.
You can look forward to this one in the next update, which is next Tuesday. It's always still crazy to say that. It's been that way for a long time now, but like everything is relative. Time flies, and it still feels weird to say, yeah, it's only 5 days away. Like the update's right around the corner. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this one I'm really excited about this one. This one's fun. I love
fun
doing
event, yeah.
stuff like this. We have the Summer Sizzle event. So the Summer Sizzle event is similar to events of the past you may have seen. There's going to be a variety of cosmetics, skins, and other cosmetics throughout the event. And obtaining at least 3 items from the event, from the Summer Sizzle event, will net you a Danzaburo skin, which we will talk about in just a second. We're not gonna jump this one. We're gonna get there in just a second. So we've had events like this in the past. I'm sure you're similar, but this one has some really fun skins that I'm excited to talk about. And the first is the Mighty Mutt Fenrir.
I just gotta.
Oh my god.
I just gotta stop for a second,
What is
just
boy?
absorb what we're looking at here.
Playing fetch.
That's Tyr's hand.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, but he's such a good boy.
Okay.
He's so cute.
With his big bulbous eyes. Here we are with the eyes again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's an interesting take on a scary dog.
It
Different
says
kind of
Fen
scary.
Pug on the dog tag.
It's Finn Pug.
Fenrir has such like unique proportions as well, with like his lower half being smaller, so it looks really funny on this skin
Yeah.
with the huge head.
Yeah, you might think
Inbred
like, oh, forced
Buckers.
perspective, but
Oh my god, and he's drooling.
You know what vibe it gives me? You remember the live action Scooby Doo when Scrappy like got mid transformation and stopped? That's
Oh,
kind of the vibe I get from
oh
it.
wow. I love the flame collar though, straight from Flavortown. That one.
Yeah, he's styling for
It's-
sure.
He is.
It's
That is
certainly
one proper
a
pup.
skin.
Every time he gets to the face, like there's
Drool.
potential
So
for it
much
to be
drool.
threatening. But then you see the face and the eyes.
Does Fenrir drool like that naturally, or is that just for the skin?
I think that's just the skin. I think this is new.
His little curly cute tail.
Extra detail.
Aw, so
Oh,
cute.
what a
Where's
what a
the
little
fur?
man.
The
Nice
fur's
little
a part of
pedestal
the Smite
face.
2
I-
DLC.
well,
You
I
can
feel
buy
like
it
he
for $30
bites.
from our
Yeah.
Nexus store.
We
yeah.
saw how he was.
Ill
putting the
advised, I
hand.
think.
Yeah. Let's look at the Smite 2 render for this guy.
Oh,
There it is.
Aw.
Why does he look so much sillier?
Let's
I
say he
think-
looks so much more innocent now.
Yeah.
He's not as menacing.
Like what a threatening pose for what an adorable face.
Yeah, yeah.
I do really like the upgrades to the fur texture here. It really looks like he's got hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Oh.
like around the mouth as well, that skin texture is really good there
Yeah,
too.
the folds and the wrinkles.
Yeah.
Imagine the drool in Smite 2.
Oh, gosh.
High fidelity drool.
High fidelity drool.
Yeah. So
That's
just
what we've wanted.
wait for that. Yeah, it's what you've been asking for. All right. So next up, here's one that I'm sure that y'all will enjoy. I mean, I'm not gonna premise this
Did you
one. We're
miss
just gonna Goth
anything?
Gourmet the Morrigan.
Oh.
There's
Oh.
what more can I say?
You know, I haven't seen
must
this
not
art
speak.
before.
You haven't?
I haven't seen the art before. But
Name yourself, me in the bottom right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I have.
you know, I think the art team knew what they were doing with this one. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
They knew. They knew
I
for
think
sure.
I think that there was a mighty inspiration and it flowed through them to create art.
Yeah, what an interesting theme as well. A waitress, but a goth waitress specifically.
Yeah, I will shout out to a restaurant. That's, man, I
Goth
It said
griddle.
goth. Goth
I-
griddle.
So many words and so few
That's
that are
what
going to
it
be said.
says.
This is a good skin. I'm excited for this because goth.
She's so pretty.
I was trying to think if like the guy in the bottom right was any of the other skins, because we see that a lot in like the card art where like
Yeah,
it calls it.
we do.
And the only
We do.
ones that came to mind were like maybe an Apollo or a Mercury. 'Cause they
Oh.
have skins
That too.
kind of
You
like
know,
that, but I,
Yeah.
I
don't
could
know
see
if that's
them
either of them.
finding themselves in a situation like this. You know, that
Yeah.
seems about right.
Well, there's Raw just above his head there. I'm pretty sure anyway. All right, well, cool. Yeah, let's see her in game.
Aw.
Nice.
Dude, she's styling.
She is styling. Look at that makeup
Goth
too.
griddle.
Oh, look at
Got
the
the
pins.
notepad.
Shang Chen Burger, Chef Vulcan pins. Dude, she knows her Smite lore. My God.
She does. She's caught up on it. So, looking absolutely fierce. She's got it all. Let's check this one out. Let's
We
dive
have to,
in for
please.
it.
Dude, this is a
Think the
cool
spatula.
skin.
The big old.
Yeah, it's huge.
so-
I don't think I've ever seen a spatula that big before.
Yeah, it looks almost like a rake. Like it's rake sized. I need to buy
Big
one
pancakes.
of those now.
Yeah, big pancakes apparently. All right, let's see those effects. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
let's check it out.
Excuse me.
Again, it's one of those where I'm like what more
Goth
can
colors,
I say?
yeah.
The pinks are so fun.
They are very
Just a
fun.
sec.
Pink is such a good color.
2 is better than 1.
Or 3 if you use the first one.
Yeah, true. Or 3.
We're up to 4. This is a dangerous game we're playing.
You know what?
Time for today's special.
That doesn't look like a god wait.
Yeah. Let's go
That looks
back. Let's go
like
back.
This isn't as entertaining. We need to go back.
But no, a really cool
The
skin. And
effects are
yeah,
cool,
again,
yeah.
I like that the effects kind of match the aesthetic of the skin itself, but also the hair a little bit. You know, just you got that pink for the highlighting. So. A really cool skin, very thematic. That's one of the things I love about this company, man. Is like they'll see something and be like, that's a fun idea. We should move forward with that.
Yeah. And
And-
well executed as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like our team knows how to have fun.
The
Man, I love it.
fashion as well.
Yeah,
just
I
so
love the
fun.
people I work with. This is a cool place, man. All right, so that is one of the other skins in the Summer Sizzle event, but there is one more. What is summertime without a little bit of a party? And we'll see that after we see the Smite 2 render. I was holding out on y'all. I was
Hey,
Yeah.
there we go. I don't know what to say again other than
No,
like the
yeah,
textures just
it's-
Yeah,
feel
it's just
so,
such a level up every time. It's
so
crazy.
good. You
Yeah.
can see like the individual straws in the pocket as well. The shine of each individual link on the chains.
Yeah, the material of the
Yeah.
apron, like
Such a level of detail that like it's crazy to imagine. Like I played Smite back in 2012, and
Yeah.
now we're here in 2024 where we're getting this level of detail from the same game. It's awesome.
yeah. I mean, my earlier Smite play was probably closer to the 2014 times, but even still, you know, like you see a game and you're like, wow, what an incredible game. And then 10 years later, moving on to the second game, moving into a new, and it's just, I don't know. Count the ways that you can point out what a journey it's been.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to see how the animations and the FX have leveled up as well because you already know that's gonna look really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh. All right, so I teased this one a little earlier while I was playing up the Smite 2 render. It's party time. It's summertime. It's Party Animal Donsboro.
Yeah.
My boy.
Oh my
You got
goodness.
Donsboro in flip-flops. Like,
Yeah.
what?
It's so small too. It's
They
funny.
are so small.
I just love this theme. Just a completely different animal as well. He's like a little fox guy.
True.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Wait,
so cool.
wait a
Obviously, he's the
second.
life of the party,
Why
though,
is
since,
his
like,
front
hopefully
left
in the back
foot
left
so
has
much
his
bigger
head
than
on
his
a
back
shirt.
right foot?
Like, it's
Wait,
supposed to be,
wait.
like, and you see his name on
Wait,
stage,
wait.
so he jumped off the stage.
Why is
Might be
that foot
famous,
twice
Yeah,
as
to hype up
big?
the crowd before
And
going
why
to the
does it
show.
only
It does
fit on
look like
half
he's
of the
having a lot of
flip
fun,
flop?
though.
Yeah. Are those fingerless gloves? Is my boy rocking?
Of course.
Fingerless gloves. He's got the shader shades
Stutter
on as well.
shades,
the
yeah.
stutter
Yeah.
shades.
I don't know how they're staying on, but they're staying on.
When you're
Sheer
magical,
force of party.
sheer force of party. Yeah, or he spilled a drink on them. There's a little sticky. So
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
look
look
at
at that
the gun.
weapon.
Air Blaster 2000, I think.
Oh, dude.
I
he's
stand
so
by my
cute.
half a
He
flip
is. I love
flop
his little
comment.
backpack.
That is
That is
my boy's
at
adorable.
best
prepared
half
for
a
the
flip
He's
party.
got a little ticket on the back there. Yeah, he's ready.
Oh, dude, that looks like the SWC.
Oh, that's really cool.
Got
That's
mine,
so
That's a great
fun.
ad.
Office.
Yeah.
Bro, that's really cool.
Yeah, dude.
I just
That's
love
so sick.
Donzaburo too. Like, what a character.
He's just such a happy little guy, and I feel like this vibe fits him perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always needed leopard pants, honestly. So let's
Must be
check
something
this
cool
one
with
out
the
in
ultimate.
game.
Yeah, can we see it in game?
Oh yeah, there's a
perfect.
couple
Oh, there he
characters
is.
for this one.
Yep, that is a really cool weapon, dude.
That is a really cool weapon.
Take a look at the badge. Oh, QR code.
Oh, all access. Yeah.
What does it? What does? I don't. Does that lead to something? I don't know.
No idea.
That'll
Maybe
be.
it does.
Tweet at me if you figure that out. I hadn't thought to try that.
Dude, that's awesome. All right, we gotta see these effects.
somebody pause it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the
Disco
disco
balls.
balls. Yeah.
I
Oh,
hope
the
it
pointer
Rick
disco
rolls you,
ball.
to
Oh,
be
that'd
honest.
be
J-Mac.
cool.
Hey.
That'll be a lot
Yeah.
harder to miss. I feel like I'm always like I didn't see it.
Oh my god, it's a little dance floor.
It is.
I kind of want to stand on that now.
Pineapple.
Enemies you should not get in that.
It doesn't work. There was no
It
info
looks
on
kinda-
it. Dang.
okay,
That is
Oh,
so
cool.
cool.
The lights,
Oh, and he turns into little tickets.
Oh, they're tickets.
VIP
VIP tickets. Okay.
the dance floor with the lights shooting up in the air is so.
Yeah, this is so sick. Okay. Alt. Oh my god.
It's the party.
Battle bus.
I mean, it's a cool skin.
Hop on. Oh my god.
It's
hanging
a
out the
cool
side.
skin.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Okay, okay.
But I don't think
hop in.
the
Got the
skin
lead.
is gonna change how the
That's-
game plays, probably.
Oh, so he's only. Okay, that's really sick.
Oh, that's
That
smart,
is
yeah.
so awesome.
That's so cool, dude. Yeah. That's awesome.
All right,
Also,
let's
where are
see.
we
I've
dropping?
Heard, I've heard tell.
We're going to
that there's a
Tilted.
VXG we should see with this one
Ooh,
as well.
please.
Oh,
God.
My
dance.
boy.
Oh my god.
On the dance floor as well.
That's so good. That
The
is
floor
so,
moves with you. That's
what a
really
cool
cool.
effect. Yeah, that
That's like the
floor
whole
changes.
floor has already been patterned out for it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
And he's
Maybe-
taking advantage. Look at
That's
him
a,
go.
that's a glimpse of what he sees. That's just like opening a portal into his eyes, you know?
Gotta see how he sees it.
Oh, he's so happy. Look at him.
Dude, he's breaking it
Oh
down.
my
Oh,
God,
the
the
glass is almost
glasses.
coming off.
Yeah, I like how they're like jumping around a little bit. Oh man.
That's adorable.
Dude, Don's is like make a bad skin.
This
for
dancer
Donza
skin
challenge.
is
Impossible.
quite
Impossible.
literally the best
Working
part of the
that
batch so far.
This is peak.
Not even,
is
not
so
even
This
me.
has made my
like,
week, made
actually
my
the
month,
best part
honestly.
of the batch so far.
Yeah, like if there were the bad vibes from Brain Kepri are being rinsed away right now.
What do you mean? Those were excellent vibes.
It was a great skin. It made me scared and uncomfortable.
Listen, that's the point.
I mean,
As someone
it
whose
did a
dog
good
is named
job.
Kepri, I was a little terrified for him.
Oh man!
Oh,
All right.
God, I
Well,
can't
this
get
is
over this.
powerful stuff. The last skin of the Summer Sizzle event, and of course, we have to see that Smite 2 render. You know,
Yeah.
we can't not.
Oh,
Yeah.
Look at him,
Look at them
dude.
pants.
I just love how fluffy the jacket looks too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Just the different levels of fluff, the fluffiness.
And I mean, obviously, we say this about a lot of these skins, right? But like, look, all those dance effects you just saw, all the lights, the disco balls,
Yeah.
that bust.
Those are
Don't
gonna look
imagine.
incredible.
Those in Smite 2 are gonna be crazy. Like, you know how sometimes you're playing, I don't know, Assault or something, you're trying to do a jump party, but then there's always the stinker that's like, nah, dude, I'm here to fight. Like, it will be impossible to deny a jump/dance party when you have this Donza throwing it down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, with his 2 as well, you can force people to dance with you anyway, so you can get them in that circle
we
and
had some
throw the dance floor on
skins.
top of them. So they're dancing whether they
Tier
like it or
2
not.
changes.
I'm
and
getting
some skins.
I'm getting word from the inside from Billy, and he's saying that chat figured it out. You want to know where that QR code goes?
I'd love to know.
Smite.com.
Oh.
Dang.
It literally actually works. It goes to the website.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah,
so awesome.
Thank y'all for figuring that
Dude.
out, chat. That's good stuff.
Well done.
Man, and shout out to our designers for being like,
Must
yeah,
have
we
been
can put a
quick,
QR
huh?
code. Yeah.
Whipped out the phone straight away.
Yeah. So y'all are the goats. That's why I love y'all. Okay, cool. That was the Summer Sizzle event. Yeah, and again, that'll come with the next update. Donzaburo skin, as long as you get 3 other things from the event, you will receive that skin as well, and the party will be in your hands. So carry that with honor. It's like being knighted. You're the party. So now we've talked about some cool new cosmetics. Let's dive back into Balance Land one more time to talk about some gods. How about it, huh?
One more
Yes.
time.
All ready? All right, let's do it. So let's call this regular god balance because
Yep.
there's some,
Yeah.
some other stuff. So under regular god balance, let's kick it off with Vulcan. What's going on with Vulcan?
So to kind of preamble Vulcan a little bit.
Please.
Before we even talk
Preamble.
about Vulcan, we've been feeling like the game has been feeling very solid across the board. We've been getting a lot of feedback in terms of the new items. Not so much that things are too crazy in really any direction. The only character that we felt like we have been really united on and seeing a lot of discussion about since bonus bounce especially is Vulcan.
Yes.
And that is why we've got Vulcan on our list here. He is the only character that will be receiving a nerf in this patch. Everybody
Which
else
one of
can
y'all
still
is
love
filling
to
out
see
the
best
damn
bonus
surveys?
about Vulcan.
Saying the game is
So,
super solid right now.
why is Vulcan even on this list? Well, in the last patch,
And
we
what
were giving his Inferno
happened
Cannon the
to
ability
you
to proc
to
ability
make you
item
this way?
effects, and that certainly did help him out quite a lot.
Yes,
we
very
did see his popularity go up a ton, which
is
is
good.
always awesome. We love to see that. But his win rate also spiked up quite a bit as well. So we're taking down the backfire cooldown, or rather pushing it up to make you have it less often. Same idea
nerfing
with Inferno
Vulcan?
Cannon, and then we're also taking down the damage in the late game. Specifically the late
Really?
game,
Was
because
Vulcan
early game
impressive?
you're not having any
The
of those
proc
proc
items.
items.
Was he,
so
though?
really that didn't affect it at all. But we
Or
want to
was
make
he
sure that
finally getting
when you're
kind
procking
of
items,
picked
you're getting a little bit less damage. across the board.
Sometimes.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Simple as that.
I was seeing like
Sorry,
one
Vulcan
Vulcan per.
All
That's
right.
happened.
So next up,
10
Cupid, little
games.
dude.
Oh, Cupid. So you'll see we kind of have these bunched
Okay.
into a couple of categories here. We're in our hunter category
All right.
of some either low performing, low popularity, kind of any of those combinations
Yes.
of characters. Cupid is amongst them. And what you'll see here is we'll just talk about what we do
pretty
first and we'll talk
significant
about why.
increase
So
on his
what we're
auto
doing
attacks.
is we are increasing his basic attack power from 32 to 38. So that's what you get at level 1. And then per level, we're increasing from 2.3 to 2.5. He was just on the very low end of things.
Very
and as
low
a
end, yeah.
character with not very many abilities that do damage, you do have to rely on your basic attacks for a lot of that heavy lifting, and he just wasn't comparing to other characters that had a similar number of abilities that deal damage. So that's step number 1. Let's talk about number 2, which is Heart Bomb. Mana cost going down, very simple. Not by a lot, but just enough so you can feel it, not have to worry too much about making sure that
The
your
flutter
support
change
or
is
whoever,
relevant for
whatever
Cupid.
lane, arena,
Picks up your
assault
things, yeah.
is picking up your heart. Not a big deal for him in the early game, especially. Going to be very nice. But Flutter, this is the big
The
change.
fun one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so Flutter, when you level up this ability, you get passive attack speed. But as many long tenured players will remember, Cupid once upon a time had that attack speed
After he dashed.
when he dashed, yes. So after a dash. So now, instead of just getting a little bit of attack speed, you're going to get that doubled when you dash for the next 4 seconds.
Yep. So putting points in it, you get the passive attack speed, which already goes up to, is it 20%, something like that? I
It's
can't
lower
remember
than 20%,
exactly.
yeah.
Maybe it's like 15%, but now it doubles when you use that dash. So if you're dashing in, you're really committing to the team fight. You're getting that extra DPS, and remember, we have buffed his auto attack damage as well. So again, just a lot more damage on Cupid when you commit to the team fight.
One thing that we've noticed with Cupid is that he tends to kind of jump in and out of the meta when we touch his ultimate specifically, because again, that ultimate very, very strong.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that the base kit is feeling really potent as well, and it just was not up to our standards for the last couple of patches, so we're bumping him up.
A bump.
That would have been a useful,
Cool stuff for Cupid.
useful
So
change
next
for
up
me
on the
earlier
100
today in
block,
Assault
we have
for
Don
sure.
Zaburo, somebody
Would have
recently
dealt
on
with my
our
auto attack
line.
damage.
Yes, well, he is going to be partying quite a lot here, and honestly, he has been doing okay, but
Yeah, not
very,
bad.
very underpicked.
Yeah, very low in terms of popularity. So just, even when he was picked, there's some great Danzaburo players that have a lot of success, but the average player wasn't having too much success with the god, and then the average player wasn't even picking the god too often. So just buffing him across the board is trying to solve this issue.
Yeah, just a couple of small buffs across the board. So first thing we're changing is Fool's Gold, which is getting increased damage. So that's just when you hit someone with the bag, and then also getting a slight amount of increased explosion damage. Moving on to Alluring Spirits, which is of course the taunt. It's getting increased healing because you're taking a long time to take this drink. You know, you want to make sure that you're feeling worth it to have to go all the way back and then throw
We
it out.
really buffed
Yep.
the hell
Before, it
out
was
of
just not healing
Danzaburo
enough
right
to
when we
really
gave
feel
him
worth
the
it to be
skin.
stuck
We
in
really
animation
did.
for so long. So we're bumping the healing more so in the late game than in the early game, and then we're also taking the cooldown down, not in the late game, but in the early game specifically. So a little bit more potential for you to get moving in the early game, not so much in the late game, but it is going to be.
I
healing
respect
you for
it.
more
Get
in the
that
late game, so
bag.
you're not
Get
gonna
that
feel
bag
as
left
bad
on Smite
about
1.
Going for that drink.
It ain't got much
Finally,
time left. I can
Aquarius
hear it
Rocket, this is his
wheezing.
ultimate. The
It's almost
explosion
time.
damage in the radius around the target that you hit,
almost
or the wall
time.
or whatever you run into, is now going to be taking 75% of the damage of the initial hit versus
Gotta
50%
pull the plug
previously. So it's
soon.
going to feel a little bit more effective in an area versus so focused on the damage in the single target.
That's right. Instead of just like, if you're just picking off a backline, or if that backline is grouped with another one of the backlines, say the mage and the hunter are together, you're going to damage them both for quite a bit more now. So get in there with that bus or whatever it was and drive into the hunter. You'll also hit the mage for a good amount of damage.
Yeah, I would say some would say it would feel like you're getting hit by a bus a little more now.
You could say that.
Yeah, you jumped right in there. So the next hunter in line is Apollo, our handsome musical man.
Yep, so Apollo is probably the most average on our list here, where he does
Yeah.
okay, but he's never really all that good in a lot of the matchups that he finds himself in. He just does okay basically everywhere. And that's fine for a lot of characters, but we want to kind of make sure that different characters are having their time in the sun, right? And so Apollo has been out of it for quite a long time. So we're bringing down the mana cost on So Beautiful from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80, so just a nice little touch there.
Yeah.
Serenade getting a decreased cooldown from 17 to 13 down to 15 to 13, so a nice 2 seconds in the early game to get a little bit more active. Mana cost also going down by 15, which is going to feel very nice, especially because you have to spend a lot of mana to go across the sky in your
yeah.
chariot, so you want to make sure that you have the mana for that. And then this is probably the biggest one on this
My
list,
favorite, yeah.
which is the moves. This is his dash. The buff duration of the movement speed that you gain is going up from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, so more movement speed for you, your allies
And
too,
your
if you
allies,
dash
yep.
through them.
That's right. Yeah, really. I just want to encourage Apollo players to be able to dash around their enemy, around their allies, to share that movement speed. You can even dash through your wave and give your whole wave that movement speed for 5 seconds, so you can get your wave moving along, so you can siege your
Maybe
tower
zoom in.
quicker. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think this is a fun one. 5 seconds is quite a long time for a good movement speed increase.
It is, for sure. So, and I mean, several times have we talked about the importance of movement speed thus
Yes.
far. So now we're kind of out of the hunter block and moving into a bit more of a mage block.
Just
I'd
very-
say,
Yeah.
starting with Baron.
Yeah,
Just
Baron is an
very
interesting character because, again, he's just fine. If you want to play him tank, you can play him
Normal.
tank. If you want to play a mage, you can play a mage.
Not
But both of them,
exciting
he just sits kind of in the
changes.
middle, doesn't do either particularly amazing. So what we're doing is we're kind of putting him a little bit more in line in both of those areas at once. And it's not going too crazy in either direction, but one place that we're starting is his base health, which just was not comparable to other kind
Not
of
even
more
close. Yeah.
bruisery type characters like
Yeah.
Nox or Aphrodite or even Chang'e, the kind of characters that need to be in the middle of things, or the characters that do have some sustain, do have some safety, but not the most, right? Baron has a conditional movement speed increase, and he's got some CC, right? But just not the safest character really at all. So he's getting comparable health, not quite matching those other characters, but a little bit closer, which is going to help him out a lot.
That's right. Yeah, and as well, we talked about, how he can play multiple play styles and he does damage, he's tanky, he has utility. We're buffing his damage just a little bit with Vivid Gaze, so when you hit that crossover point, it does that extra bit of damage, so 10% more than what it was before. Instead of 15%, up to 25%. Actually a decent chunk if you're hitting all those archers, for example, will help you clear a lot. Or if you just hit a god, that's a good amount of poke.
Yeah. Feeling pretty nice about that. And finally for Baron, this one's going to look a little bit weird, but we'll kind of break down why this looks the way that it does. So wrap it up. This ability is a slow to root, but essentially what we're doing here is we're decreasing the duration of the slow and increasing the duration of the root. So what that means is that
Slightly
they're
longer
spending
root.
less time slowed, that slow is ramping up faster, and then they're rooted for longer afterward, which is pretty important considering, especially since we changed the way that roots interact with DR
Yes.
over the past year. Baron doesn't super DR himself very well. You can
Often, yeah.
through the ultimate, but that doesn't happen too much. So this is just really important for your interaction with your own teammates as well. But it is going to help him have more consistent ability to be having that set up for himself or his teammates.
Yeah, so we're just putting more weight on the hard CC, taking away some from the soft CC.
Yep.
I think the root is really valuable, like Lomi said, for your allies as well. It can be kind of hard to hit a god when they're only CC'd for 0.75 of a second.
Still waiting.
But surprisingly, 1 second.
Still
is
waiting
a
for the
lot easier.
mid-season
So just hitting that
patch,
1 second
you
point
know?
for that root. And again,
I'm
it can be
waiting for
DR'd
it.
if they've already been
Surely.
hard CC'd by something else. But yeah, just shifting some from the soft CC onto the hard CC, which is inherently stronger. So this is a buff.
Yes.
Yeah, overall, and I mean that combos really well with Vivid Gaze and trying to hit that cross
Exactly,
point,
yep.
or a lot of other things. So yeah, definitely a buff. So you're eating, Baron players. So continuing down the mage line, Poseidon, our boy from the water.
Yeah, Poseidon is a classic character, right? But he's just been kind of MIA.
Yes.
He has okay popularity because he's
On
just
the
a very
death screen all the time,
recognizable,
that's why.
a very recognizable character. But again, yeah, like Rose said, he does die quite a lot.
Yeah.
But we were thinking of some interesting, fun ways to give him a little bit of a buff. So what we're doing here is we're increasing his base attack speed to help him build up some of that tide meter from 0.87 to 0.95, still the same amount of scaling. But we're also giving some extra attack speed to Trident.
Yes.
So a little bit more playing around that tide meter, getting it more often with your Trident as well, and your basic attacks is going to feel really, really nice. Helps you keep that movement speed to get a little bit safer and be able to get that extra bit of damage off just a little bit more
Weird.
consistently. But that's not all. We've got more folks. Up next, we've got Whirlpool as well, which is, of course, the iconic 3.
Don't
But this
know
ability
why
has
we're
kind of felt
buffing
very
Poseidon,
lackluster. Even with,
to be honest,
Gem of
but-
Isolation coming a little bit back in.
timing
I've been
change.
seeing it. The
I
timing
actually
change
feel
of this
like
as
he
well
does do
has
very
made
well in
a
the
little
snowball
bit
meta
better.
because of how
Not
good his
too,
early
too
game
crazy,
clear
though.
is.
So we're bringing up that tick damage scaling from 15 to 20. And then, of course, the iconic, the amazing, the Kraken.
The Kraken.
He's being released a little bit stronger, but in the center.
center, yeah.
The more accurate you are with it, the more damage you're doing. Previously, it was identical between
Yep.
the center and the outside, but now the center is going to be doing a bit more damage, and you're getting the
On top
knockup.
of the stun, yep.
And you're getting the stun. It's going to feel real, real nice for those very accurate, skilled Poseidon players.
Yeah, so you've got your consistent damage from these attack speed buffs. Maybe you can even build some rings if you want with some of the new tier 2s
yeah.
we've put in there. But then again, you've got more. So when you hit your combo, get them stuck in your 3, a little bit more scaling from that, and you can really hit the center of your ult, then a lot more scaling. That's 55% extra damage right in the middle. It's a lot.
Yeah, it really is. So for those of you who are good at the whirlpool to center of ult combo, please stop. Scylla up next on our mage list.
Yeah, Scylla's another interesting character because she is very, very popular. People love Scylla, myself
great.
included. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Scylla enjoyer.
Oh, I know.
But when I see her win rate, oh my god, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here for Scylla is that we are decreasing the mana cost from Sikkim, which 100 mana for an ultimate. It's just kind of insane
was a lot.
in the current ages of Smite. So we're bringing it down on that regular ability from 60 to 100 to now 60 to 80. Crush as well is getting an increase, a very slight increase, 10% to minions in that damage as well. Going to help out with that clear, especially in the jungle. Going to feel very, very nice for in lane. And then finally, we've got a buff here to Sentinel, which is her 3, her escape. Which is getting a slight change here. And this may look a little bit strange because Scylla's passive kind of gives her unique
Whole theme,
unlocked effects when it comes to getting your ability ranked up. So you still do get the increased ward range from Sentinel when you rank it up to level 5, which is very nice, don't get me wrong. But the one thing that has felt very weird for those Scylla players is that you only go a little bit further when you rank it up, which has just felt very weird, very strange for the feels of this ability
Right.
too. So we felt like we could
Shit.
safely move it up that 5 units for all ranks to really kind of unite that feeling and not have this very slight discrepancy between ranks 1 through 4 and rank
Yeah,
5.
I think this makes it a lot more intuitive as well, because let's say you just finished playing a silly game where you were level 20 for like 10 minutes and you're used to the walls that you can jump over because of that extra 5 units at rank 5,
Yep.
and then you get into a new game and like, oh, I can't jump over this wall anymore. It just wasn't intuitive. So now the distance is the same at all ranks, but yes, you still get the extra vision, which is a lot of vision
Yes,
at
it's
a
a
rank
very
5.
big range. And then, of course, we're also increasing the MP5 to help a little bit with
A little
her
bit, yep.
extra mana sustain in the early game.
That's right. Yeah. In general, she had some struggles in the early game.
3-year anniversary on
but
the
with that
same day
10%
as the death
increased
of Smite.
damage on minions, so that is including the jungle camps as well. She should
6.
be able to clear a little bit better in the early game, and then you'll have more mana to do that.
And it's very important to note that a lot of these changes are not PvP oriented. We
Yes,
understand that
is
she
already
is
strong PvP.
very good damage wise. That's not the goal of these changes. The goal is to make the actual experience of playing her just a little bit smoother, just a little bit more consistent across the board.
Yeah, just general overall polish. Nothing wrong with that. So Freya will be next on our list of mages getting a bit of tuning.
Yeah, so Freya, we did in patch 11.5, we did a couple buffs across the board to some of these
Items.
items for magical ADCs, but Freya was still the one that seemed to be lagging behind out of the rest.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised it was Freya, but that's just how it is with her. So what we looked at was that her base health was lagging significantly behind even characters like Olorun, who has some built-in sustain. Freya does have a little bit as well, but it's more lifesteal versus direct healing,
Right.
which does take a little bit of extra steps, you might say, for the Freya player. So we are just bringing her a little bit closer in line from 567 base to 610. That's not addressing the scaling at all because that's not changing. And then the only other thing that we're changing here is the banish cooldown from 19 to 15 to 16 to 14. So a lot off at the top, but only a little bit off at the bottom.
Yeah, generally a pretty hard to hit ability if you're new to Freya as well. So having more chances to hit it was really important. And I just want to encourage people to actually try to use that ability whenever possible, because your teammate can capitalize on it very easily. But when it's a 19-second cooldown, you're like, oh, I have to wait for the perfect moment. Otherwise, if I miss it, it's on a cooldown for 19 seconds. So
Yeah.
16 helping quite a bit. Obviously, it was down to 15 in the late game before, which is already pretty good. We need to buff it just a little bit. So 16 to 14, not much of a difference late game, but in the early game, you really feel that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing it to other mage abilities that sit up at that 19 seconds, like
Yeah.
the next closest one is like Merlin Flicker.
Yeah.
This ability is not like comparable in that same way.
Yeah.
So it needed to come down quite a bit. Just a lot of extra setup for herself, safety, which is going to feel really nice. But again, Freya, another character that we understand has very, very sensitive damage ratios. So we don't want to mess with those. We feel like those are fine. It's really just the safety and the utility of this character that need a little
Say
bit of help.
something. Stay with
Yeah.
us.
Yep.
A nice healthy
Just
buff
waiting for
without
something
making her
exciting, I guess.
hyper-threatening. So
What are you waiting
last
for,
but not
kids?
least, in
Something
the mage
amazing,
circle,
I
we have
guess.
Hel.
Yes, so this is another character that is very sensitive to those kind of changes.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that we noticed is that when we changed healing last year, this was around, I want to say 10.3, 10.4 or
Yeah.
so around that time period, the healers were very, very strong. And then we kind of took them back a little bit, got them more in line, but that heal remained
I gotta go
very,
pee.
very low ever since.
It did,
and
yeah.
one thing that we have noticed from our healing players, there are a lot of players that really like to specialize in these healing characters
Support style,
and,
yeah.
and have this like support style mage, is that healing has just kind of felt very low for these characters, and that identity that they really, really enjoy is kind of missing.
That's
So
right.
we want to be very careful with this adjustment, of course, because healing again is very, very strong when used in these kind of methods. So again, it's still lower than it was previously, but it's getting a nice bump in the direction that we are hoping that will be a little bit more identifiable for players. So it's getting a bump in the base of the heal and also the per level, very, very small bump per level, but it will, you'll feel it
It'll
over
matter,
time.
yep.
And then the self heal is also going up as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually I want to touch on something for increased healing, because there's a couple others in this patch
Yeah.
as well. Just keep in mind that we're making some anti-heal items more viable in the early game with
Yep,
a couple
exactly.
tier 2 items that have anti-heal on them as well. So there'll be more, but yeah, we can move on to switch stances now. So before, Hell had to be, this kind of could be this kind of support pick, but you'd have to be within 30 units of your allies, which
That's
is
less
actually
than a
really
basic
close.
attack.
Yeah,
Very,
that's-
very
that's a
close.
pretty-
55 is your average basic attack, so just for reference. So we're changing it to 55. So if you're within a basic attack range of your allies, they'll now get that effect of that. I think it's protections of power.
Yeah.
And then now, well, previously physical gods were not getting any of that power. It was just magical power. So we're adding physical power. Obviously, Hel doesn't get the physical power herself. She wouldn't use it for
I did
anything
not
anyway.
miss it, yeah.
But the allied gods around you will get that physical power. So
I didn't think we were
when
gonna
you're
move
playing
past that.
with your hunter in the duel lane, they'll actually feel something rather than them getting this, what was kind of useless magical power.
Yeah. Really cool changes, and yeah, helping diversify the age you can offer to your team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're moving out of the mage sphere now and into a sharper and more dangerous sphere, the assassins. Well, maybe not more dangerous, but definitely
Okay.
sharper. So we have assassins here, and we have Fenrir up first.
So Fenrir is again another kind of character that's fallen off a little bit, but he's been doing great at Smite too. By all
Yes.
means, we've been
Yeah,
seeing a lot of
he
awesome
has
Fenrir
been.
play there. We
Fenrir's
want to
been
make
great.
sure though that he's keeping up
Yeah.
in Smite 1, and he didn't really need a whole lot, right? Just a little bit of a bump to kind of get him moving in the right direction. And so what we're doing here is we're increasing the AoE damage of Brutalize to 75%. So if you're in a big group of people, usually it's really scary to cast Brutalize because you know you do get a bit of protections from this, but you are locked into this animation. You are moving
You're in.
by the enemy's accord to a certain extent. So
Yeah.
to be able to say kind of this is my zone, you know, if you want to be in the zone, fine, but you're going to take a little bit extra damage if you sit in AoE. Also really nice for clearing as well, which
Yeah,
is going to
especially
be
waves.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really this is kind of a note out of Smite 2's book. I think in Smite 2 it's 100% of the damage, so we're not quite there, of course. Obviously, he's very strong in Smite 2, and Smite 2 has all different items as well, so balance is entirely different. But this just 75% of the damage in the AoE, just a small bump from what it was before. So you can, you know, if you wanted to play him in solo lane, it didn't really matter, or now it won't matter as much what minion you're using a 3 on, you'll still clear pretty much everything around it for that 75% damage.
Yeah, sounds good. So next up, the jump scare goddess of Smite,
Yes.
Kleena.
Yes, Kleena. So she's a very interesting character because there are times where she is incredibly popular and does okay, but she is still kind of maintaining the popularity. It's gone down a little bit. We've seen it trending down, especially after the lifesteal changes
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year. We're expecting to see her a little bit more after that, but she's fallen off quite a bit. So what we wanted to do was give her a little bit of extra damage
Yeah,
for
this is not
those
much.
characters that build into the damage stance, but also something more fun for the Kleena players is being able to hop in and out of those walls a little bit more. So it's going to feel pretty nice to be able to get in there 1 second sooner.
Yeah, we just kind of wanted, we saw the downtrend in players picking Kleena and playing Kleena, so we just want to give them a little bit more so they can, you know, if they're feeling on the weaker side now, they're just bumped up a little bit. She wasn't performing too poorly, but her play rate was trending down and her win rate was trending down as well. So just trying to reverse that a little bit. We'll keep an eye on it for sure, but these are, for now, very small buffs.
Yes, and specifically for Banshee's Wail here, this is not the final scream. This is the like pre-screams
The
before the
ticks, yeah.
silence. Yeah.
Got it. The pre-screams. So. All right, awesome. So that was Assassins. Now we're going into my personal favorite area for any of the gods. That's Guardian territory, starting with Ardio,
Guardian
the Lady
territory.
Bear.
Yeah, Ardio is a very interesting character because she is another character that got affected pretty badly by the attack speed reduction
Like
of
hell.
back camps.
Yeah.
Made it really, really difficult for her
sure.
to,
Wow,
to
that's
get through the
a
early
big
game.
increase in
And
that
she's
heal.
kind of a character that you would expect to do pretty decently there because she's
That's
a
a
stand
big
switcher, has
increase.
access to all of these abilities.
Okay.
But really, it's kind of her utility and ability to keep up in damage that has kind of fallen off a bit.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and the healing especially too. We're talking about how we did something for Terror in a previous patch. You know, these gods ever since, I think you said it was 10.3, it might have been 10.4,
Yeah,
I don't
somewhere along
remember, but
those
yeah, early last year. So it's been over a full year. We're in 11.6 now for this patch, where these gods healing has been pretty low, on the lower side, and there was reason for it, but as well, I know that the healing before that patches was a little bit out of control, but with introducing these tier 2 items, we feel it's safe to bring this healing back up. So Energy Surge, which is your druid version of More Prey, which is your 1 ability, will now heal double the amount that it was healing before in the late game. So going from 40 to 100 to 40 to 200. Remember, you can hit up to 3 targets with this.
Yeah.
So if you have this at max rank, you hit max amount of targets, so 3 targets, that's 600 heal for yourself and all of your allies. That's
It
a lot
is
of
really
healing.
hard to
Yeah.
do that, though.
Really.
That
It
is,
is, yeah.
I'll be very impressed.
Yeah, so I would like to see people be able to do it, but in general, you know, you're hitting 1, maybe 2 targets if you're hitting
you're
some
lucky.
frontliners. Yeah, but generally it's just 1. It's a small little cone, so you're getting this 200 heal instead of 300. Instead of 100, and more often as well, the cooldown
Do
going
I like
down from
this
12
patch?
seconds. We're doing that for the
I'll
same.
let you know
but
as
More
soon as the
Prey,
patch
which is just
starts.
the bearer version as
Yep.
well. So both will have the same cooldown.
As soon as the
but
patch
healing
starts,
is
I'll let you
increased on
know.
Energy Surge.
Yep. And then over to our next slide of Ardio changes, we're going to Life Tap. This is the 3, but the Druid version. So this is also the heal per hit of Life Tap is going up as well. She's going to get a little bit more sustained from this. I mean, 6 per tick in the early game is kind of like not even
nothing.
one
Yeah.
archer swing. So it's going to feel a
Certainly
little bit
it's
more
gotta
significant
start
there. And really not that much more towards the top end, but this is per tick as well. So it's going to add up over those ticks. But again, you got to be hitting things for
That's
this
right.
to actually
Yeah.
give you healing, which is always the hard part. She's also getting just a little bit of increased damage scaling per hit, which is going to help. And then the mana cost is going to be kind of sitting at a more reasonable spot for
Yeah,
her, especially
this-
because she is a
This
character
would have been
that swaps
ability
between
spam.
a
stances
very
a lot, spams
nice
a lot, is going
regular
to be needing
patch
that a little bit of a decrease
3
on the mana
months
cost there.
ago.
Yep. And then
Where
for
you would have
heavy
been like,
charge with
yeah,
same ability, just
it's
different
after the
form
new
for the
season
bear form,
patch.
increasing
You
the
know,
damage
it's
the same
like
way we did for
2
life
patches
tap as
after
well,
that. You're
and
like,
the mana
okay,
cost
they're not
too.
trying
So
to
you should
shake
be
up
able to
anything
actually
too
dash or
much.
use
They're
your
just
free
trying to
whenever
kind
you
of like
want. Maybe by
hone
restored
in
artifact
on
that
the
too, to spam
gameplay
those
for the
abilities, get
year,
that 1%
right?
mana back
Try to
every time,
figure out their
and you continue
footing.
to just keep
That is,
fighting
in fact,
as the
not what this
Guardian
patch
Druid
is.
in the
This is the
Soul Lane.
mid-season
Yeah, lots
patch,
of
which is supposed to
options
have
now,
massive
especially for a character
game-changing
like this that has a
effects.
lot of abilities.
And I'm
Yeah,
seeing,
Ardio's always
you
been
know,
fun anyway, and
maybe
also always fun.
2
like
or
that,
3 characters
kind of like a jump scare,
that
kind of like
might
Kalina, where
be
you're
picked
like, oh, they're
now
clearing
that
their
weren't
blue
picked
camp. Let's
before.
turn into a bear and charge them from
And
behind.
that is-
so you're innocently clearing blue, and all you
That's
hear
the
is an
patch.
actual bear running at you from like right behind. It's a great time.
That's the
honestly.
patch
It's great
so far.
mental strats. So moving forward, we have Sylvanas, the tree.
Yeah, so this is just a small adjustment to
Yeah.
Sylvanas. We've got more later that we'll get into.
Oh.
But before then, we got to talk about his base stats. So, as a character that's relatively immobile, he has got some
Very.
solid self-peel. He's got some healing, but he just is a tree. He can't really go very fast,
Yeah.
very, very quickly. So
Shuffling along.
he needs to be a little bit of extra, tanky to be able to deal with a lot of the people that run at him and want to chop him down. Listen, don't touch Garver like that, all right? He wants to grow strong and flourish, not get chopped down and turn into
He's
firewood.
called
That's messed up.
Grover, not chop down.
Yeah, we just felt that he was kind of weak.
Especially
You know,
with there
obviously,
not being
as a
new
mobile
gods
as he is, he
anymore
was
in
pretty
Smite,
easy to pick
because
off even
Smite's,
with
you
his
know,
self-peel. So bring the health scaling
sunsetted
up, just
that
5 per level,
development
that's not much
aspect
in
to
the
focus
end,
on
but it will
Smite
help
2,
based
like-
on top of the base physical protections will help too, and then the physical protections per level, another 0.5 per level. So just in
This-
general, being
this
tankier,
patch
especially the physical damage in the later game.
is really emphasizing
And now we are
the
finally
thing that
shifting
has scared me
from
the
Guardians
most
to
and
the
my
last of our
biggest
areas,
problem
the solo lane lovers, the warriors.
when we did our Smite
Amaterasus.
2
Good
alpha
stuff.
review,
Yeah, you would have thought.
which
Over
is
the past, meta or
Smite
so,
1
that
Equinox,
with
perhaps.
Equinox being
Development
really good,
is
Amaterasu
canceling
based
too
character.
early.
Yeah.
But
For
she was
Smite
not
2
present.
to
She
not
was
be
not
ready
present.
yet.
Even
No.
though her popularity
You know,
did go up, they
Smite 2 's
quickly
not
fell off when
ready,
Equinox
and the
got
pace
nerfed.
of Smite 1
And then
development
it
has
went back
slowed
to
down
being
to a
basically
crawl.
very low.
Very little, yeah.
This is
Uh,
the
so
least
we wanted to make sure
impactful
that she was
mid-season
able to
patch
keep
that
up with
we've
the rest of the
genuinely
characters,
ever
keep up
had.
with the
12 years.
itemization especially.
Smallest patch
so
we've
what
ever
we are
had
doing
for a
here for
mid-season.
Ama is increasing
Least
her basic attack
impactful,
power
you
per
know?
level from 2 to 2.2, so she's going to scale a significant amount closer to the late
Yeah,
game.
it can't
Divine
happen
Presence is
until
getting an
Smite 2
increased
is
heal
ready.
per tick
Smite
by
2
5
isn't
at the early
ready.
game, and then going up
It's
to
not ready.
55 at the late game. Glorious Charge, which is her 3, is going to get a mana decrease to
Very
60.
expensive before. Yeah.
Metal rings. Yeah, for a dash being at 90 is very, very expensive. And then finally, the piece de resistance. Dazzling Offensive, the ultimate, going down to a 70-second cooldown at max rank, which is
Yeah.
very, very low. That's like Vulcan, that's like raw levels. Like, I don't know if there's a warrior that has an ultimate this low cooldown.
I mean, I think it's fun. Yeah, just get in there,
Yeah.
use your ultimate as much as possible, force those enemy cooldowns. You can kind of disengage. Heal
Yeah, but you
yourself
love
up, and
Ardio
when they
Baron
don't
and
have their
Poseidon.
cooldowns up,
All right, so it
yours
worked
is
out
only
fine
a
for you.
7-second
I mean, that's
cooldown.
fine.
You know, their beads are much longer than that, or their defensive ultimate is much longer
There
than
you
that.
go.
So you can go back in and use your ultimate again before there's a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff.
That's a win
I'm sure
for
Angel's
you.
excited for sure. All right, so last but not least, in this particular list, we have Horus getting a little tweakage as well.
Yeah, so again, Horus is another character that is more of your supportive warrior, can be played over in the solo lane. A little bit more difficult too, but definitely can. The first thing we're doing is increasing the buff duration of Protector Surge. So this is the protections.
Protections.
Do you
Yeah.
need a
get
Founders
when-
Pack to
when
play
Horus
Smite 2
hops
on
to you,
July
not the
30th?
healing. Nothing to do
Yes.
with the
I
healing,
do
okay.
not expect the servers
But
to be
it's
out
gonna be
for
nice
July
to be able to
30th,
hang
by
on
the
to
way.
those protections for a little bit longer.
I would
but the
be
fun buff here
very
is to the
surprised.
skies, going down in cooldown from
But
100
yes,
seconds to 90 seconds.
If you want to play
Up there
Smite
and fly the
2,
team around more
Yeah, a
often.
lot of
yeah.
times, especially for
Within
the
the
newer
next-
Horus players or non-conquest Horus players, this ultimate is really hard. to
9
find a
months,
good time
you have to
use.
buy it.
Yeah.
So just giving more opportunities to go and up down, or maybe pull your whole team into the enemy base and
Maybe.
arena. That could be
Fountain,
kind of
yeah.
fun.
I'm hiccuping.
Things like that. Definitely don't do that, but.
Yeah,
Once.
you
Just do it
could.
once. You get one.
Maybe if you're winning by 100 tickets,
Yeah,
something like that.
It's a power play. So if you're five
they're your
stacking,
friends,
yeah.
yeah.
If you're 5 stacking and you want to burn 100 tickets, like go for it. Live your life. So all right, well, cool. So that does it for the regular balance. We have a few more things to cover, though, some interesting things in what we can call the quality of life section.
Yeah.
So some neat changes here, and I guess we'll dive right in with Bakasura.
Yeah, Bakasura is getting kind of a smaller quality of life change
Yeah.
here, but it's going to feel nice
a good leap.
regardless. Regurgitate is his ultimate.
This
It's
is
going to
still
be
happening.
seeing an increased projectile speed by about 15%. It's kind of hard to say because we don't, typically share projectile speeds externally, but just
Yeah.
know it's going to go out a little bit faster wherever you shoot it to. It'll land there a lot more succinctly, so you're not being able to, shoot it out and then miss the cripple, essentially. It's going to
That's
feel
right. In
a
the
lot
zone,
more
yeah.
easier to confirm in that regard. So yeah, that's essentially it for Bakasura. Just a small change, make that a little bit more consistent, especially when you're throwing it further away, because again, it is a projectile. It has to travel the distance, so the further you throw it, the longer it's going to take to get there.
Yeah, it helps make a more reliable impact on the target you were attempting
Yeah.
to regurgitate on. So moving forward, Yu Huang.
Yes, this is a very, very cool change. I'm very excited about this one. So Yu Huang, ever since his release, he has
That's
been known
nice,
to
at least.
have one of the most difficult ultimates to hit in the game, if not
It is a troublemaker.
maybe number one. It's very hard to say, right? But when it comes to the difficulty of it. And so we're trying to just make the general experience of firing this ability feel a lot
Easier,
better.
yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to really break down the numbers here just because there's so many steps into this ultimate when it comes to spawning the dragons, firing them, the dragons fire, the explosion happens. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm not going to break down the specific numbers for you here. The only thing that I will say is the dragon projectile. So when you actually shoot them,
Yeah.
they go faster, but there have been other changes to his pre-fires, his post-fires, going in and out of the ability especially.
Right.
It feels way nicer now. So hopefully that is going to feel a lot better. There's going to be a lot less delay for you Huang players that are very used to that experience. It's going to be feeling so much smoother now.
Yeah, we saw a lot of good feedback from those Charybdis players of last patch when they got this same kind of change, this reworked ultimate to make it feel a lot more, smooth, really is the best way to describe it. So we wanted to do the same thing for Yu Huang because he also had this element of clunkiness, and this will hopefully just make it a lot more intuitive to use, a lot more smooth to use, and make it easier to hit those targets.
Yeah, what a crazy thing to say just conceptually. Like, as somebody who's never watched or commanded two dragons to fly at each other in an explosive path, being able to sit down and say, it just doesn't feel quite right. Like, it's weird how I don't know where you get that opinion from, but you definitely know it. And when you're able to clean it up and you're like, now that's what two dragons flying headlong on collision course should feel like.
That's right.
Like, crazy that it's some invisible target that you've been able to just like
You're
find,
whelmed?
like,
Yeah, so
I'm
just a lot of
underwhelmed.
finagling
Yeah.
for sure. But
I am
when out
drastically
there,
underwhelmed.
It definitely feels a lot better. As someone who plays a lot of Yu Huang, we had some other testers come in and try it as well. And the change is small, right? It's not going to be this extreme overnight. This becomes the
it's not a
easiest
brand new
ability
ultimate,
to
yeah,
hit in the
yeah.
game, but it still will be challenging. But it will feel a lot more
What's
responsive.
the
and that's
temperature
what matters
outside,
to us.
though?
Awesome.
Go
Well,
for
good
a walk?
stuff.
Ooh, it's a
So
little-
next up, y'all might have
little
seen a
toasty.
teaser for this one
all right.
floating in the Twitter
nice to
sphere.
go for
We
a
have
walk, though.
Kali getting a bit of
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Well,
Kali is
yeah.
supposed to
This
have
is
an
an exciting
actual
set of changes.
factual
So,
change.
Kali.
That's a lot.
Kali,
She's
Kali,
going to be
Kali.
like
Where
the
to
one
begin?
real change of the patch, I think.
We can begin. Let's talk about Achilles' passive just real quick because that'll matter in this
All
for
right,
this
and we're
comparison.
going to dive in game for Kali.
Yeah, we can
as
show it
well.
off in game.
Sure, yeah.
Help us explain.
J-Mac can
I'll
pull it
preface
up.
that we can try, but right now they're currently getting the servers up for PTS.
That's
right.
So while in my reset aren't able to, unless there's like anything on the dev we need to avoid, maybe I can jump onto the dev jump and jungle practice.
Maybe we'll see. I can talk through it for now anyway, so
talk through it.
no big deal. But yes, this is the middle of a work day. We are doing active work
That's
on the
true.
game.
There are literally people
that's how it
working on the
works.
game
Yep.
right now.
Sometimes that happens.
But yeah, so first of all, just think of Achilles' passive where you can go into base, click to change your armor whenever you want
Very
between
easy.
your offensive or your defensive choice. Now Kali will be able to go into her fountain, and at any point she can left click, just like Achilles can left click, and she'll be able to choose her target at any
Okay,
point.
so you can choose
We're
your
trying to
target now.
solve
It's a
this
good-
issue
it's like
of
a
how
quality of
Kali
life
would
target, but that's
would be
nice at
stuck
least.
with, I don't, the support is my target. I'm never going to kill the support, at least not for the next 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and therefore my passive is basically
Oh, but she got
useless.
nerfed.
We wanted to avoid that. So now you can
You
go
can
into the
choose
base
your
and choose
target, but you
at
have
any
less
point.
pen
Obviously, that
and a
means you're gonna have
decreased
your
kill and gold
target on
assist from
the
it.
god you probably most want it to be on almost all the time, especially
You
with
see
the
what I'm
second
saying?
check we're
So
gonna
you
make
can
here.
choose
we
your
did have to
target,
bring the
but
passive down.
the effects that you
There's a
normally
lot of
had
text
are
here. I'm not going
worse
to read it
now.
all out for you, but we have nerfed the passive accordingly
Yeah.
based on how easy it should be to target the correct target.
Yes.
And you can take away the nimble strike change if you
Okay.
want, because
Yeah.
again, that'll be to do with your targeting.
I mean, another thing to kind of touch on here
She is
with Mark for Death is that you're still
presumably getting
this
a
very
buff
extreme heal, right? The
to
heal is kind of the big focus
offset
here. You get a slight advantage
nerf
when
in
it
her
comes
passive.
to killing the target, and you get a slight.
It's a
bonus
quality of
when you
life
do
in her
kill the
passive,
target.
which is nice, but it is also a nerf.
Really, the weight that we want is the more visceral feeling of I got this
She's
huge heal.
presumably
Yes.
also
I have
getting
this
a buff.
inherent advantage versus this target that I have all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Nimble Strike, because this
do.
is getting two kind of levels of change, where the first effect is a brand new effect, where when
Kali
Kali
leaps
leaps on
on
an enemy god, the lowest current health god that you've hit is marked automatically.
That's nice.
So you can choose your target by jumping on top of them, just saying, really, like, I choose you, I'm
Yeah,
going
like,
all in,
number
I'm
one.
taking you as my target, you know, because you want to fully commit to that target. because if
Convenient
you kill them, you obviously
targeting
get the
changer,
passive
you know?
proc and everything like that. And Lerman, you actually posted a video on
Gotta
Twitter,
actually
right?
We did spoil this
You
one
got to
on
be
Monday,
careful
so-
with
we
that,
can check that
actually.
out.
Take a look.
Yeah.
That'll just display on how this ability works. So you can see, there you go,
Yeah,
switch
you
to
gotta be
Wukong as a target, you still
careful
get the
with
heal,
that.
and now they're marked as an enemy, and then we can go into base. Depending on the skin you'll have different FX.
Yeah.
Do a little left click there, and then boom, choose your target that now is Atlas.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, you can see
Oh.
Expo was a target. Now it's
It'll
Yvonne,
make her
and we
her
can change it to
gameplay
Atlas.
experience
Full
more
control over your
smooth.
passive now.
Yeah.
Yep, and believe me when I tell you, this feels very, very nice
Yeah.
to be able to have this level of control as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand the concern as well that people have brought up where, like, oh, you know, what if I get the target that I don't really want? Like, I'm hitting multiple
And
gods
the
at the
healing
same
effect
time.
got changed from
Typically,
15% of
when
missing
when
health
this has happened
to
in
a
our
flat
playtest,
value
we've
plus
actually been very
10%
happy
of
with how
missing
it's
health.
felt, because
So
the target that has the lowest health is not usually going to be the
Probably give or
Guardians
take
the tanky people,
about
even
the
if they're really
same.
grouped up next to each other. They just have more health than
Yeah.
squishy people. So if you're jumping on the pack liners, you're jumping on the jungler, and you happen to also hit a tank, you're still probably going to mark the person you wanted to hit anyway.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and generally the person that is the lowest health, even in situations where it's two hunters or whatever it may be, two similar characters, the one that's lower health is the one you're going to be going for anyway, right?
Exactly.
Because they're sooner to dying, sooner to getting your Kali proc passive, and so it's just very intuitive that way. So even if you accidentally hit two targets, generally you want the one that's
More
low-
nice quality
that's
of
low
life
health,
stuff,
that's the one
but
your
not-
passive's going to go to.
I
That's
mean,
the
it
one you
is
chase
a
after. Get some
buff
extra bonuses
to
for
her
killing
Nimble
them,
Strike
and then
and
just
to her general
perfectly, in line with
gameplay
what Kali wants to do in terms of
loop.
just choosing a target, gunning that one singular target down.
Yeah.
Then once they're dead, you switch to a different target and keep going.
And almost helpful in a way too, because like you said, if you're looking at two health bars side by side, the Guardian health bar could look like it's a quarter full, and
I'm
the
gonna be
Hunter
honest
is
though,
half
not
full.
Yeah.
too
But the
crazy
Guardian
yet
still
though
has
in
more
the
life.
Kali.
Guardian's
Not
just
too
good,
crazy.
thick.
Yeah, this is not percentage health. This
Yeah.
is actual what is the
so
number.
What is the
Yep.
number? So if you jump on that, especially if you're a learning player too, you could be like, oh, like I jumped in, that guy's health bar looks lower, but it lit up that guy. I'm gonna fight that guy because like I know that's the lowest health person in the area. So it's almost helpful for somebody trying to learn Kali because you can dive in
Yeah.
and get the idea of, oh,
I should be hitting this
yeah,
guy.
passive says that's the one to go for. Let's go.
It's
So,
a good
it's
quality of
really
life
cool.
though to get her
So, yeah,
ready
lots
for
of big
Smite
changes
2
for
before
Kali.
they
One
like
more
quarter
effect though that
over,
we got to
you know?
talk about is
Yeah.
that a Nimble Strike has a heal on it. But one very interesting quirk about Kali, I guess you could call it interesting, maybe we'll call it a little unhelpful in some circumstances,
Okay.
is that to heal at all with Kali's Nimble Strike, they needed to be missing health. So if you wanted to, let's say, leap over a wall and start a camp with
Yeah.
your jump, you're not healing with that. And if you wanted to get a heal from a camp, you'd have to end with your jump, which just doesn't feel very good, I
Yeah.
would say. As a character, it just doesn't make much sense. That many other characters don't do it that way. They will start with it, or they will, start
Procking
going to
on
another camp with that
camps
ability.
does
with Kali,
make
you
that
just were
quite
missing
a
out
bit
on this
better.
really big part
didn't
of
think
the
about the,
ability
Yeah.
that you just were not
jungle
getting. So what we've done
PvE
is we've
aspect.
lowered
I honestly thought
the
it only
percent
procced
missing
on
health that you
gods.
get. You still have that missing
But
health
I guess
component, so it still
because
has that unique factor
it
of,
didn't
yes, you can still
really
do this.
proc
if, you know,
on
it's in your
jungle
muscle
camps
memory, you'll
because
still
you
get
would
some
jump to start the
extra healing
camp,
from that.
thus
But
getting a
now it
zero
has
heal,
flat
which kind
heal
of
as
is
well,
funny.
So you'll be
Well,
able
I guess
to
it's
not
always
feel so
procced on
bad
camps, but
about
you've never
starting
used
with
it
your
in
jump.
that regard
Right, and you
because
can
of
jump
how
on
it
multiple
works.
targets
Kind
as
of
well.
funny.
You group these jungle buffs up, group a full
I
wave
literally
up,
never
just
get one.
I didn't
and
even
then you
think
just
that it
get
worked on that.
it would be 100 heal plus 10% of the whatever the highest target's health is. You could even jump on a fire giant. If you get the killing blow on a fire giant with your Kali jump,
That's a big heal.
that's a big heal, right? So even with the 10%, you still get that big heal. But if they're low health, or sorry, if they're full health and they've only taken the damage from your jump, you get a small, 10% of what your jump did plus the flat value depending on the rank of your ability.
Exactly.
Well, good stuff all around. Lots of cool Kali changes, lots to feel out. So make sure y'all let us know how you feel about that, because lots of cool stuff. And J-Mac, were you able to get the game sorted?
Yeah, I jumped into the dev jungle practice at the moment, so we can kind of show off the
Please do.
double
Oh,
target jump.
Yeah,
cool
let's take a
looking
look.
Yeah, well, you're full health now, so you won't be able to heal, but you will be able to. You can see the health values on both of them.
Oh, and there's our targeter too.
There's a lot of
There's a
votes.
There's
lot
a
of
lot of
Odins.
Odins in that map, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you can
let's
see.
pick a random Odin.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. And we're switching around, which is nice. And then if we jump, a ba-boom.
Well, it killed Raw and then swapped to Shock.
But there you go. So even if you kill a target,
Yeah,
you'll choose the
it'll
target
mark
that's
the
still
next
alive.
lowest target. That's
Yep.
actually a cool like additional thing to have shown off there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can see actually because you're on the ceramic skin here, if you go towards the base without clicking, you can see you get the themed click or the themed
Yes.
FX around your character.
And the other important thing to note is that you can right-click this targeter just like you can right-click Achilles, and then you can go back to basic attacking in base if you
you're-
want to.
If someone's diving your Phoenix and you need to basic attack them, yeah, you just right-click away that targeter and you can attack whoever's in your fountain for some reason.
Or if you're really talented, you quickly switch your target to whoever's in the
Oh,
and then,
quick
you know,
swap. Yeah.
Take them out while they're there, you know. Easy
Beautiful.
picking. So, and yeah, there it is marking Raw.
Yep, perfect.
Really cool.
Yep. And of
It's
course, you get the proper
cool.
indication from the enemy side as well that
And
they've
it's
been marked.
convenient
so
for
everyone
Kali,
should
for
be
sure.
fully aware of who is the target in that situation.
Who is in imminent?
It's not like a
mortal
rework
danger,
or
so-
anything.
or immortal danger
It's
if
just-
you're a god, I guess.
You know,
True.
Regardless,
Significant
so cool,
quality
yeah,
of
a
life
lot of
for
changes
Kali.
there, like a lot of really depthy, but all very, like, I guess, quality of life is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
the
Certainly-
section would entail.
Certainly a buff, but just a buff in the way that the character just feels better. It's intuitive. It makes sense with the way that character plays. And because it is a buff, yeah, we nerf the passive accordingly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But like you said, it gives you better control of a mechanic that is native to that character anyway. So
Yep,
overall,
exactly.
it just feels good. Well,
Yeah.
good stuff. So continuing forward, we have one of the goodest boys of the battleground.
Oh, boy.
Cerberus.
This is a fun one.
This is a fun one. We
Take
can
it away.
also probably
Leading
go
with
in
the
game for
whole
this one
boy.
too
Yeah.
if you want, JMac. But yeah, let's start. So Soul Expulsion. Cerberus
Affian?
overall can sometimes feel a little bit clunky. You know, he's a good boy, but he does things a little bit slow. He's a big,
He a thick
hulking,
boy, yeah.
massive of
Donkey
dog.
boy.
So yeah, we wanted to make sure that Soul Expulsion was feeling nice because this jump is a little bit long to get out of when it comes to the post fire, and even getting up in the air. Sometimes you can feel like you're getting pulled out of it. So we wanted to kind of improve that experience. And again, not going into specifics here because the numbers are just really, really small.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, there's not a lot of context on this that will make a lot of sense to you guys at home. So just trust me on this one. Go try it out in jungle practice. You will feel the difference. And then finally, Stygian Torment. This is a huge change.
It's crazy.
Cerberus is no longer crippled or slowed while using this ability.
Oh,
Which means, JMac, if we are prepared in game, show us what it
Ready.
means.
Let's try again.
Now it means-
Yeah.
You're not slowed at
And
all.
then,
yes.
no slow.
And
And
then
then finally, one more thing you can do is,
Ult them
There we go.
first and then jump.
And then
while
jump.
you're
Nope,
holding
it doesn't.
them.
Oh,
So you can actually ult them really far away. So
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had
on
no
the edge
idea
of
what
your
they
ult,
were
and
saying.
then face the other way and just jump as far away as possible.
yeah.
It'll
He
take
had
him
no
moving the
idea
whole
what they were
distance.
saying to do.
You are bringing them.
There you go.
That's
Yep.
so cool.
So I think we measured it because Cerberus is kind of like a soul lane god.
Yeah.
You can ult someone from basically the totem to your tower line.
They won't follow you over the wall.
So yeah, they won't go over the wall with you. They'll just impact the wall. We should add damage and a stun or something when they splatter
really
against
funny.
the wall.
Now we're good.
Oh my god, so violent.
But yeah, so you can take them quite a distance. So if you're up against a Cerberus in the soul lane, you're safe around the totem area. But if you
Yeah.
go a little bit too far with that, you're at risk of getting hit by that ultimate, and then the jump all the way into their tower line like that. So pretty cool.
Dude, the arena implications of this, like,
You are
Yeah.
pulling very far now.
yeah,
but it
I
is,
am going to jump people into Fountain on arena as often
anything
as
good or
possible.
What's
spicy
even
changes?
cooler
I
about
mean,
this
nice
too is
quality
we
of
recently
life
made a
here
change
for
to
Cerberus.
Cerberus
It
to
was a
give
nice
him
quality of life
cooldown
for
reduction
Kali.
on Soul Expulsion when you kill the souls of gods. So you
RDO
can jump on
heal
them
for
as
some
they're getting
reason is
pulled,
massive
drop
now.
all their souls. Your teammates kill the souls while they're also killing the guys.
Yeah.
And then your jumps back up again, baby. You go one more time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Oh man, what a fun change. I love that. Guardian changes just light me up. So good stuff. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
just
awesome.
good stuff. All right, so I'm always happy to see this. Atlas up next.
Oh yeah.
What's my boy Atlas get?
This is a fun one.
Some rings, I guess.
So in the last patch, we had a couple gods like Jormungandr,
mean,
Fafnir,
sure.
Bake Kujira that
Yeah.
were
Why
able
not?
to get item procs on their basic attacks.
Sure.
Atlas was not included in that list because he required a little bit of extra help just due to the way that his basics are set up for his Unburden. And now Atlas's Astrolabe basic attacks, when he has it deployed, can
Yeah.
proc basic attack item effects.
Yes.
Yeah, we did it, guys. Atlas is here.
I'm looking over at JMac's screen now, and he might have a little sneak.
A demonstration.
Yep.
Really?
A bunch of items.
Yeah. Look at those procs.
You can throw that on a wave on some gods, you get a bunch of auto attack procs right there. That's
You know, maybe not the best Atlas build, but it sure is fun.
it is fun.
It attacks fast. That's what matters.
That's what matters.
Indeed, and it costs mana, so keep that in mind too.
Nah, that's not
Don't worry
important.
about that.
So yeah,
That's so fun.
there you go.
Sure.
All right, well, I'm happy. We could end the show there, but we're not because we still have some stuff to talk about. So, all right, so moving now, this is less of a individual god thing and more of a happening across the board type thing. So, ability item effects, so some additional procage it looks like.
Yes, so we did something again very similar to this in the last patch as well. This is more focused on actual abilities that did not proc item effects
The
before.
final part.
Okay.
Yes, it does not. It's not our intention to let every single ability in the game proc items. Some, whether it's due to increased technical limitations or just due to game balance concerns, are not on this list. There are, it's a possibility in the future we could do some additional investigation when it comes to the technology or just other,
So
balance measures that we could put in to
proc
adjust certain
ability
characters that are
items
not on this
now?
list that don't proc.
What?
But at this point, we're feeling pretty good about this
Doesn't
list. It's
really
not to
make
say
any
that we will never
sense.
ever change them again. But this is kind of the last kind of real big push that we feel like we need
Yeah.
to make at this point in time
Yeah.
with this. But to look at this list in more detail, we've got Cthulhu's Sever, which is his kind of initial slash attack when he
Yeah.
goes into his
In his
ultimate.
ultimate,
And then Chernobog's Heart of Cold. This is his passive, the explosion there. Pele's Magma Rush. Maman Brigitte's Party Trick, which is the Fire Breath,
Yeah.
and then Shibalanke's Branching Bolus are all able to proc for a variety of different damage and healing effectiveness percents.
Yeah, we came up with some rules here as well. As you can see, Cthulhu and Chernobog both at 100%, just because it kind of makes sense with those abilities and how often they can use. Whereas you get down to Pele, Maman, and Shibalanke, they can kind of just use those abilities all the time. Shibalanke is just his basic attack bowlers. Maman can cancel and start her party trick whenever she wants. Similar with Pele, so those had
don't
to be much lower
know
values.
if
But
that
the important thing
makes
is
the game
well,
better,
damage
to be
damage
honest.
and healing
You
is
know?
important too.
Like, I don't
But
know-
like Magma Rush and Party Trick will now proc brawlers or
If
Divine
every-
Ruin, and Shibalanke will be able to proc brawlers. I suppose.
I don't know if
with his
every
branching
ability
bowlers.
has
So
to
you're able
proc
get those-
items.
Well,
Yeah, Crusher,
I don't know
Heartseeker.
if
you
proc
get those
items, which are
effects,
already,
even if it doesn't, like if they're
so
just damage
strong
effects,
on
yes,
so
they're
many
reduced down to
characters. Like, I don't know if
25%.
it has
but
to
they're
be meta on
anti-heal
every character.
or
I
Gem
don't
of
know if that's
Isolation on Maman
more
Brigitte.
fun.
You can proc
You
that
know?
whenever you want. That's still the full amount. It's just the damage and the healing that's being reduced.
Yes.
Okay, got
Exactly.
it. Well, that's cool. A lot of new effects that can, that you can work those item procs into for a lot of diverse gameplay. That's really,
Yes.
I feel like the theme of this mid-season is like items and things are being shaken up so much that the way you can build, the abilities you can
I've got
launch,
a-
utilize
I've
the
got an
build,
idea for the
it's gonna be a
theme
lot
of the
cool
mid-season,
or
Danny,
game
but-
changers. So
Yeah, very
I'll let
excited
you
to
have it.
see what new build paths open up with these abilities.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be y'all always figure out what you're like, here's the set of rules that they've recently laid out. Let us twist them to the craziest possible lengths of the earth. So always excited to see that. So last but not least, we have one more thing to talk about, and it's abilities that can be fired while targeting close or inside of walls. So kind of
Yeah.
run me
Quality
through
of
what
life,
that is.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is our final bit here, but essentially, there are some abilities in Smite that cannot be fired all the way into walls, over halfway into the wall, because it will cause XYZ issue. It could be a number of things
Can't
where,
jump into a wall,
collisions don't work right. You can't jump into a wall. You can't place things like deployables or walls into walls up to a certain extent because of how they, push people in. Some of these are more okay for a variety of other reasons, but I'm just going to go through the list, and all of these you'll be able to fire into walls if you want, but you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
The ideal feeling is that if you are next to a wall trying to hit someone with these abilities, you are no longer going to have that big of an issue when it comes to actually putting them close to the wall, where
Right.
it
Yeah.
will not you cast.
You can overlap this ability or any of these abilities into a wall and still hit them with the edge, right? If
Yep.
you would previously, let's say Skadi Permafrost, if you had put your target at over 50% into a wall, you couldn't throw it at a wall.
Yeah, it would-
Right. So if there was an enemy right by a wall and you were just trying to throw it on them quickly, you couldn't throw it on them if you had that targeter in the slightly wrong spot.
Yep.
Now you can target it anywhere in a wall. It's fine. Obviously, you don't want to put it on outside of the map. That's not going to hit anybody.
Yeah.
But if, it'll be much easier to hit guards that are standing right next to structures or walls. So
Yep.
go ahead.
Yeah, let's just run through this list really quick. Of course,
Fire it
we've got Skadi Permafrost, this is her 3. Poseidon, Release the Kraken, of course, that's his ultimate. Bakasura's Regurgitate, which is his ultimate. Sylvanas' basic attacks, which is a big one. You can now
Yeah,
fire these
or
over
over
walls
walls,
as
yeah.
well, and right next to walls. And this is really helpful for Phoenix Sieges, Tower Sieges,
Yeah.
things like that. Feels really, really nice. On top of that, we've got Ishtar's Strike Shot, which functions very
Lob.
similarly. That's the lob one. Jingwei's Persistent Gust, Amu's and Cobb's Honey, Freya's Banish, and Ymir's Ice Wall are are all of the abilities that are getting this pass as well. And so they feel really nice now to be able to not have to worry so much about opponents being really close to walls and just getting that annoying little click sound that you just can't fire ability. Well, now you can.
AMC's Honey has me excited for that. Like I'm gonna be like across the wall, like thought you could take that camp, huh? So I'm excited for that.
Yep, it's gonna feel real nice. But that's about it in terms
it
of
for us.
Did it?
balance.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. So what a long show it's been. You know,
That was a
this
long
is mid-season. Y'all
patch
did
notes
a lot of work, a
where
lot of
a
cooking.
lot of
so
things
first and
technically
foremost, thank
happened.
the both of you for all the hard work
Thank
you
you
guys
guys.
here and
Technically.
coming on and talking through all of that, because that's a lot. Like y'all's ability to understand and remember like why you made changes like that, like always astounding. So thank y'all for the help. JMac, as always, thanks for driving
thanks,
stuff
J-Mac.
back there.
Thank you.
And then thanks to y'all for coming and hanging out with us. Like
Yep,
it's
I did.
been a crazy 6 months so far, you know.
Well, it was obviously the least impactful mid-season patch that we've had in Smite, for sure. Definitely the least the least overall game impact that we've ever seen from a mid-season patch. There was a couple of nice quality of life changes, you know, for Serb and Kali and that kind of stuff, but without new gods coming to Smite, without the SPL, right? There's no competitive, there's no new gods, there's no natural marketing for Smite anymore because there's no new god videos and there's no tournaments to look forward to. And those were essentially the entire marketing budget for Hi-Rez, which means if you want people to come back and play your game, you need to do something crazy. Because the only way to bring people back is for them to go, oh, that's crazy. I'm going to play that. And I'm not sold that a tier 2 item giving you 100 mana is bringing anybody back to play the game. And if we can see the trajectory numbers for Smite, and they're downward trending hard. And I just don't think that anybody's coming back now that their tier 2 item also does an extra 5% stacking auto attack. Like, it's not going to bring anybody back to the game. And it's, you know, your patch notes are, at this point, the patch notes are the biggest marketing left in Smite. It's literally the biggest thing that they have left. So we utilized the biggest patch of the year, well, what was supposed to be the biggest patch of the year, to add insignificant, for the most part, passives to tier 2 items, and the meta will almost just largely stay the same outside of maybe 4 characters, like maybe Ardio gets played now, and chances are your jungle is going to get invaded more to level up the masks, and that's probably the biggest gameplay effect on this patch. Pretty massively disappointing. I wouldn't say that this patch is largely going to affect Smite really in any drastic way at all. I would say it's going to have a very small effect on the game. So I guess on one hand, it probably won't make the game worse, but it won't really change anything. And I think we're, you know, halfway through the year, and it was kind of a fairly boring season to begin with. And now we don't have any drastic changes in the mid-season, and Smite 2 is not ready yet. And that's tough. It's just a tough spot. It's just a tough spot. This is not what you would want Smite to be, trying to hype up your Smite 2. You know, it's not providing the excitement, and Smite 2 is simply not ready yet to be a full-time product. But thank you guys for coming out to the stream today. We'll see you guys all bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful rest of your day and evening. And as always, folks, have a Twitchin' day, y'all. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.